Chapter 470. As the battle ended, as well as the passage of time, the 9 heavens 10 earth soldiers gradually calmed down. Then, their eyes all looked towards Chu Bei, almost at the same time kneeling on the ground with putong sounds, their faces filled with sincere gratitude. Many thanks to Senior Chu for saving us. Desolate borders millions of soldiers knew Chu Bei's surname, all of them speaking out, their roars ringing through desolate border. Senior Chu, you are not only our benefactor, you are even more so the benefactor of the 9 heavens 10 earths. Meng Tianjing arrived at Chu Bei's side, his face full of respect. After witnessing the previous battle, the way he addressed him also changed accordingly. Even though the current Chu Bei's aura was only a bit stronger than his, he didn't dare call him Dao friend anymore. Just now, he had personally witnessed the other party kill the foreign Anlin and Shichuo. Those were 2 undying kings. While looking at the collapsed heaven abyss, Meng Tianjing's expression was one of relief, as if a great stone had been lifted from his heart. The desolate borders disaster left behind from Immortal Ancient was finally resolved. Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan's primordial spirits also flew over, bowing towards Chu Bei, not carrying the slightest bit of resentment. The 2 of them exchanged a look, their eyes filled with sorrow. It wasn't just them. The other supreme beings were also like this, looking towards the foreign side, all of them releasing a sigh of relief. Endless time passed, 1,000,000 years passed in a flash. They had guarded this place their entire lives. Now, they could finally roam the 9 heavens 10 earths, live a different life. All of this was thanks to the mysterious and unknown Chu Xian King in front of him. Master! At this time, the other space-time Yi Fan landed in front of Chu Bei, bowing deeply, his face full of respect. Even though the 2 looked extremely close, there was a long river of time between them, a space-time barrier. Are you all right on your side? Chu Bei calmly looked at Yi Fan. This disciple can still handle it. Yi Fan replied, and then his eyes carried worry. Master, that battle before didn't affect you in any way, right? It's fine, there is no need to worry. Chu Bei's lips carried a smile. Master, what is above the high heavens? How can we go there? Yi Fan's expression became serious as he asked Chu Bei for advice. Let's become an emperor first. Chu Bei answered, becoming an emperor? Yi Fan was stunned at first. After muttering to himself, he nodded. I understand. That day won't be far away. At his level, he naturally knew that the Emperor Chu Bei was referring to wasn't a grand emperor at the peak of the human Tao, but an immortal emperor at the peak of the immortal Tao. Father, I miss you. Yi Qingxian's eyes were red. She brought sure how in front of Chu Bei, looking at Yi Fan from a close distance. Xian father is in a mess here and has no time to protect you. You stay over there and cultivate with master first. If Shizuan leaves, you can accompany him as he grows up. When he spoke up to hear, Yi Fan's eyes landed on Shihao's body. I'll wait for the day when you become powerful. Us senior brothers will fight side by side. Senior brother, I will catch up to you. That day won't be far away. Shihao clenched his fists towards Yi Fan. His young and tender voice was incomparably resolute, as if this was a type of agreement. Excellent. Yi Fan laughed loudly, his hair flying about. Then, his eyes returned to Chu Bei's body. Master, this disciple still has matters to deal with, so I'll withdraw first. Go then. Chu Bei waved his hand. Then, Yi Fan's figure gradually disappeared into the distance. One could vaguely hear intense battle sounds from that space-time. While looking in the direction Yi Fan disappeared, Tao Dai King, Old Celestial, Devil Leader King, and the other experts felt a wave of absent-mindedness. Unknowingly, when they thought about the terrifying strength Chu Bei displayed before, they also understood. The disciple was already this powerful, so how could the master be weak? Senior Chu, where exactly did your esteemed disciple come from? Finally, Meng Tianjing still couldn't hold back his pounding heart. He walked up and asked, his face full of confusion. Almost at the same time, everyone's eyes became hopeful, looking at Chu Bei with faces of expectation. The future. Chu Bei gave Meng Tianjing a look. He spoke 2 light syllables, giving his answer. What? He came from the future. When they heard Chu Bei's reply, including Ming Tianzheng, Immortal Wang, and the other supreme beings, all of the cultivators sucked in a cold breath of air. When you are strong enough, there is nothing that is impossible in this world. Going against the great river of time. What is so difficult about that? Chu Bei's eyes swept over everyone, calmly saying this. Ming Tianzheng and the others still had expressions of shock on their faces. Going against the great river of time. This type of heaven-defying divine ability might only be spoken of so casually by someone at the peak of the immortal Tao domain, right? If it was anyone else, even if they were at the peak of mortal Tao, this was still far beyond their reach. Senior, then are you someone from this era? Someone seemed to have thought of something, hurriedly asking. This great one took form before the primal chaos. As for which era I belong to, there is no answer. Because this great one has eternal life, I can freely travel to any era. Meeting the gazes of tens of millions of cultivators, Chu Bei smiled calmly. He looked at the void at a 45-degree angle, standing with his hands behind his back. As for little Yi, he is the disciple that this great one took in after wandering the great river of time. When they heard Chu Bei's words, everyone was stunned. Their absent-mindedness was filled with deep shock. They didn't know the reason, but from this senior Chu's words, they could deduce 2 points. First, the other party could be said to belong to any era. Second, the other party had eternal life, true eternal life. Roar. Just as everyone was about to ask something else, a long roar sounded from the other side of the collapsed heaven abyss. They could vaguely see a huge figure holding a silver axe, glaring at Chu Bei with unwillingness. Senior, who is that? Meng Tianjing's pupils constricted. Even through the collapsed heaven abyss, he only glanced at the other party, and an inexplicable chill rose from his back, piercing into his bones. A little fella whose strength is even above Anlin Shuchuo's, a giant among immortal kings. Chu Bei looked in the other side's direction, saying with a smile, however, you all don't need to worry. If he wants to come over, it will be at least 1,000,000 years later. At that time, even if this great one isn't here, little Stone will have grown up, enough to fight against him. That's good. When they heard Chu Bei's words, the tens of millions of cultivators released a sigh of relief. Host quelled the chaos in desolate border. Level 15 commodity authority unlocked. Host's cultivation has increased to the peak of level 15. Host is rewarded with Xiao Hei's power. The right to use a level 19 commodity. Host will enter All Heaven City for training in 15 days. Not long after the tens of millions of soldiers returned to Imperial Pass, the system's voice sounded in Chu Bei's sea of consciousness. Finally, unlocked level 15 authority. Chu Bei stood on the city wall, feeling the aura and power within his body rise another level. The corners of his lips couldn't help but rise. Now, without relying on the system, nor did he borrow Xiao Hei's power, his own strength already reached the peak of level 15. If it corresponded to the perfect world's cultivation system, then this was the self-release realm. Am I going to enter All Heaven City again? A moment later, Chu Bei released another sigh. Whenever his cultivation rose too quickly, he would have to enter All Heaven City to train, experience an endless period of boredom. The second day after Desolate Border's great battle ended, countless cultivators in Imperial Pass, under the lead of a group of self-release realm experts, cleaned up the battlefield. Even though a day had passed, in every corner of Imperial Pass and even the 9 heavens 10 earths, wherever there were people, there were still intense discussions about the Desolate Border great battle from the previous day. Among them, the one who was talked about the most was none other than Senior Chu Bei. This was an unmatched expert who could freely swim through the great river of time, kill 2 undying kings from the other side, Anlin and Shuchuo. It wasn't just cultivators. In ordinary taverns, some storytellers were stirred up, speaking until their blood was boiling, their exaggerated expressions as if that savior was themselves. The 9 heavens 10 earths great cities all began to erect Chu Bei's divine statues. There were soldiers who returned from Desolate Border, recounting the Desolate Border battle. 7th day. In a great palace in Imperial Pass, purple clouds rushed into the heavens, accompanied by clear and crisp sounds of tearing through the air. A 3 or 4-year-old child released a loud shout, rising into the air, appearing in the void. Bone-grinding sounds continuously sounded from within his body, as well as the sounds of his flesh being reconstructed. He seemed to have undergone a transformation, from his flesh to his spirit, and then to the heavenly passages of the outside world, producing spirituality. Everything was evolving. A rumbling noise sounded. The child's aura erupted a level higher. When they heard this disturbance, including Ming Tianzheng, Immortal Wang, and the other supreme beings, a group of experts immediately appeared. Spirit transformation realm. This little fella really broke through. Heavens, a 4-year-old spirit transformation realm cultivator. He might be the first person to do this from past to present. However, after thinking about it, it makes sense. His master is Senior Chu. A group of cultivators cried out, looking at Shi Hao in the air, revealing expressions of shock. 15th day. In a mountain range outside Imperial Pass. Above the mountain range, heaven and earth went crazy. 9-5 lightning tribulation, 5 elements heavenly tribulation, great true tribulation, water fire great tribulation. All types of heavenly punishments covered the world. The entire mountain range was submerged. One could only see a child's indistinct figure, unable to be seen clearly, resisting tribulation in the lightning radiance. Freak. A true freak. When this little fella grows up, he'll be formidable. Perhaps he really can reach the heights of that senior brother from a different time-space and Senior Chu. 15 days, from heavenly passage to spirit transformation realm, and then to great dragon tribulation. That divine pill in his body should have been bestowed by Senior Chu, right? Just what kind of immortal treasure is that exactly? Countless cultivators from Imperial Pass floated above the city wall, looking at Shi Hao's indistinct figure, their eyes full of envy. Above the mountain range, it was an expanse of white, ear-splitting. Silver snakes danced about chaotically, lightning radiance everywhere, as if it was a sea. Brontosaurus moved through the sky, not just one, but hundreds, over 1,000. Every single streak of lightning was thick like a mountain ridge, dancing about chaotically in the void. Right now, Shi Hao sat in the air, the void pill within his body frantically spinning, tearing apart the surrounding void. Following a finger pointing out, endless heavenly lightning entered his body. This little fella has the aptitude of an immortal king. Ming Tianzheng muttered to himself. He might be the youngest immortal king from past to present. Immortal Wang said with a sigh. Hong Long. Another earth-shattering sound rang out. A dragon cry sounded from within Shi Hao's body. Immediately afterwards, resplendent radiance was released from Shi Hao's body, strange symbols appearing one after another. Engravement realm, success. A long time later, the lightning above the mountain range scattered, everything becoming calm again. Shi Hao moved his muscles and bones, collecting the symbols around his body. He stepped on the void, landing in front of Chu Bei, and then bowed deeply. Master, this disciple broke through. Shi Hao's tender voice drifted through the air. And Chu Bei released a light sound of acknowledgement, nodding in satisfaction. Many thanks for Master's help. Shi Hao revealed an expression of gratitude. The reason why he could use 15 days to break through from Heavenly Passage to Engravement Realm was most likely because of the Heavenly Merchant City's Heaven and Earth Supreme Treasure. Great Ancestor, how is Junior Martial Uncle's talent compared to Great One Father's? Yi Qingxian arrived in front of Chu Bei, eyes carrying curiosity. The natural laws of heaven and earth are different. There is no way to compare. Chu Bei laughed and said, Little stone, from now on, you will need to walk your own path. Chu Bei's light eyes landed on Shi Hao's body, pinching his cheeks. Master, what do you mean by these words? Are you going to leave? Shi Hao seemed to have guessed at something. His large eyes became watery, tears about to roll down his cheeks. Master has already stayed here for long enough. It is time for me to take a walk in the other starry domains. Chu Bei wiped away Shi Hao's tears. Even if Master isn't here, don't slack off and properly cultivate. Your path is still long. From now on, just stay in the Heavenly Deity Institution. This disciple will follow Master's orders. I will definitely not disappoint Master's teachings. Sure How nodded heavily. Great ancestor, are you going to look for Great One Father? Yiqing Xian pursed her lips, asking in a probing manner. Chu Bei shook his head. Don't worry, your father will be fine. 15 days had already passed. If he still didn't enter Heavenly City, the system would forcefully bring him there. Wang. Chu Bei's divine will moved, the wheel of time and space appearing. With a single step, he quickly arrived in a world full of primal chaos. Soon afterwards, Chu Bei arrived at a familiar place of training. This was a city that had almost become an expanse of ruins, ruined buildings everywhere, not a single figure to be seen in the city. Just like before, when Chu Bei had just appeared above the city, a strange buzzing noise sounded from the city below. Immediately afterwards, an irresistible suction force sucked him into the city. Qi. As soon as Chu Bei entered the city, a black figure with self-release realm strength rushed over murderously. Chu Bei released a sigh, and then he raised his hand to face it. Time passed quickly. Endless years later. Host's training has ended. Host has left Heavenly City. Inside Heavenly City, Chu Bei didn't know how much time had passed, nor did he know how many billions of beasts he had killed. When he finished killing the most recent wave, he suddenly felt a strange sense of absent-mindedness. A trembling voice sounded in his head. It's finally over. Chu Bei sat down next to a corpse, releasing a long sigh. After this training, in addition to the beasts he killed in the previous 2 training sessions, the blue specks of light he obtained already condensed into a total of 9 blue liquid droplets. However, from start to finish, he still didn't know what these blue liquid droplets were. Outside world. 9 heavens 10 earths, desolate border. The walls of Imperial Pass that had originally been peaceful for 1,000 years were now filled with all types of powerful cultivators, no lack of supreme being existences among them. The atmosphere was exceptionally heavy. Rumble, rumble. At the center of the endless, desolate great earth, the collapsed heaven abyss that separated the 9 heavens 10 earths from desolate border suddenly trembled, releasing continuous ear-splitting rumbling noises. Chapter 471. What is going on? Could it be that Heaven Abyss is going to break through again? Is the 1,000 years of peace going to be broken? The most terrifying thing still happened. Didn't Senior Chu say before he left that we could have 1,000,000 years of peace? On desolate border city walls, the 9 heavens 10 earth soldiers looked at the swaying Heaven Abyss, their brows tightly furrowed, their expressions incredibly heavy. Honglong. Suddenly, there was an earth-shaking explosion. They only saw Heaven Abyss that collapsed into a sea of natural laws surge. Then, under the eyes of countless experts, a weapon appeared. Its aura was simple and intimidating, as if it was going to cut open the sea of natural laws, cut open a passage. Not good. There are foreign experts trying to break through Heaven Abyss. Damn it. Don't tell me they really are going to make it through? Back then, Senior Chu powerfully took action to kill Anlin and Shuchuo, shattering Heaven Abyss, thus ensuring 1,000 years of peace. Could it be that the peaceful days are going to end so quickly? Do any of you know where that boss Chu is? If we can find him, then even if the foreign experts make it through, so what? While looking at the scene in Heaven Abyss, the cultivators looked at each other in dismay, their eyes carrying fear. That was a war halberd. It flickered with cold radiance, releasing chilliness, currently continuously smashing into Heaven Abyss. Just the halberd blade that appeared from time to time was already too terrifying, the void collapsing, the sea of natural laws surging, as if great waves were striking the heavens. The entire boundless battlefield was shaking. That wave of aura was clearly separated by Heaven Abyss, yet it still made one's heart tremble, even their souls trembling. This wave of aura, it is a foreign, undying king taking action. The 9 heavens 10 earths experts looked at each other, their voices full of fear. This was definitely a foreign, undying king taking action, or else how could there be such a terrifying aura? Gotcha. Following this clear sound, the hearts of the 9 heavens 10 earths experts immediately sunk to the bottom. This time, that war halberd didn't just pierce through Heaven Abyss with the blade, but rather half of the halberd body. Fortunately, Heaven Abyss mysterious power firmly wrapped around the war halberd, or else this imperial pass might have already been destroyed by the war halberd's aura. Finally, the rumbling sounds stopped. The war halberd calmed down, resting horizontally in heaven abyss just like that, half of it sticking out, allowing the divine chains of order to batter it, allowing the sea of decrees to corrode it, releasing killing intent. Which undying king's weapon is this? Heaven abyss is acting strangely. Is he going to seize the opportunity to come over? No way. Without Senior Chu, the strongest person in the 9 heavens 10 earths is only Elder Meng. Not to mention immortal kings. Even if an immortal from another domain came, we would still suffer a calamity. On Imperial Pass walls, the 9 heavens 10 earths experts looked at the spear flickering with cold radiance, their faces full of alarm. They're coming. Suddenly, a self-release realm expert released a trembling voice, his voice carrying despair. In the next moment, with a boom, a blurry figure appeared in the crumbling heaven abyss. He took a step forward as if he wanted to cross over to the 9 heavens 10 earths. All kinds of lightning surged down and bombarded his body, but they were unable to cause him any harm. Chi. When they saw that the war halberd in hand was about to cross over to Heaven Abyss surged with endless scarlet multicolored light, the brilliance endless. Blood-colored symbols burned fiercely, forcing that figure back. Hurry and look. Heaven Abyss is still useful. That undying king can't cross over. While looking at the sea of blood like Heaven Abyss, the 9 heavens 10 earths experts released a breath of relief. But the war halberd is still there. It wasn't forced back by Heaven Abyss. When they saw that blurry figure being forced back, the 9 heavens 10 earths people carried hope as they looked towards the half of the spear that passed through Heaven Abyss. However, what left them shocked was that this war halberd wasn't damaged, and the halberd blade's radiance became more and more resplendent. It was trembling, resisting Heaven Abyss, facing the sea of natural laws. Honglong. The moment the halberd blade's radiance stabilized, a great noise sounded. A large purple word erupted in front of the halberd blade, a striking death character. When the death character appeared, the sea of natural laws was blasted aside. Then, a large half of the war halberd reached out. I know who he is. There was an ancient supreme being who seemed to have recognized that war halberd's origins through that large purple word. His voice was trembling, his face pale. However, he didn't say that person's name. It was because every single undying king possessed matchless and immeasurable strength. He was worried that if he called out the other party's name, there would be some unpredictable consequences. Wu Shang. In the sky, Meng Tianjing's brows furrowed, saying this name. Only, he separated these two words, only saying them after a long time had passed. What? How could it be him? No wonder this war halberd has such power. What do we do now? Could it be that we really don't have a choice? On Imperial Pass walls, there were supreme beings who sighed. There were supreme beings whose voices were trembling. At their cultivation realms, there was already not much that could affect their emotions. However, when the name Wu Shang was spoken, their expressions instead became extremely unnatural. Wu Shang, the other side's unmatched king. Regarding him, there were too many legends in Immortal Ancient Battlefield. In Immortal Ancient's battle, he was precisely a slaughterer. His appearance even disturbed the original balance between the 9 heavens 10 earths and the other side. Even if it was the other side, it would still make one feel fear, make one tremble. It was because he was too powerful and also too ancient, to the extent where he was even a generation higher than Anlin Shichuo. His status was venerated, terrifyingly terrifying. The reason why he could still be considered matchless among immortal kings was all because of his talent. Divine ability immunity, impervious to all methods. This was precisely the capital he was proud of. He was innately undefeated, no one able to contend against him. Look, another person is about to cross Heaven Abyss. Right at this time, a self-release realm cultivator pointed at the sea of natural laws, crying out in alarm. When they looked over, they saw that another figure appeared in Heaven Abyss. However, he didn't directly cross the sea of natural laws, instead slowly moving along that war halberd. This aura, that is a foreign undying. On the city walls, a supreme being said, "Even if it is just an undying being, none of us can match him." When they heard that supreme being's words, the bodies of the 9 heavens, 10 earths experts trembled, inwardly shaken, their faces turning pale. A foreign undying being was equivalent to their true immortals. However, right now, they didn't have any true immortals on their side. So how were they supposed to resist? Don't panic. Even though he has the war halberd opening the way, he is still an undying being in the end. He won't be able to cross over. Meng Tianzheng indifferently swept his eyes over the cultivators on the city walls. Right when his heavy voice sounded, the figure on the war halberd suddenly released a wave of intense coughing, large amounts of resplendent golden blood spraying out. Then, he staggered backwards, forced out. He failed. That foreign undying was also defeated. While looking at that figure who was forced back, the 9 heavens, 10 earths cultivators released another long breath of relief. Hong long long. However, right when the cultivators on the city walls felt as if a great weight had been lifted from their minds, as soon as they began to cheer, even more figures appeared on that war halberd. Even though their auras were much weaker, they were actually not restricted by the sea of natural laws, currently moving along the war halberd unharmed. Gather all cultivators above the void Tao realm in the 9 heavens. Prepare to fight. Right at this moment, the faces of all of Imperial Pass supreme beings, including Meng Tianzheng, sunk, releasing this order. On the other side, within the massive Imperial Pass city, above the streets, a layer of ripples appeared out of nowhere. Within the ripples, an azure passage appeared. A young man dressed in a purple robe slowly walked out from within. As soon as this young man appeared, he turned his head towards desolate border, his brows furrowing slightly. The young man was precisely Chu Bei, who had just left All Heaven City. 8,000 years ago, wasn't Heaven Abyss destroyed by Boss Chu? Why was it broken through again? Fortunately, the foreign undying kings and undying beings couldn't cross over, or else Imperial Pass might already no longer exist. The time is still too short. If he was given another 1,000 years, with the talent sure how displayed, it should be enough to enter the Supreme Being realm. According to what I know, Sure Hao is already at the peak of self-release realm, right? If he really was given another 1,000 years, in my opinion, he might even become a true immortal. Even though the foreign undying kings and undying beings couldn't cross over, there are quite a few supreme beings who came, their numbers far exceeding ours. If only Senior Chu was here, then we wouldn't have to worry. Even Anlin and Shuchuo could be killed. Even if another foreign undying king came, it would still be the same result. Inside Imperial Pass, a group of cultivators looked piously at the massive Chu Bei statue in the plaza, voices of discussion continuously sounding. The discussions of the people around him sounded by his ears. Chu Bei smiled inwardly. Immediately afterwards, he silently disappeared from the streets. Desolate border. Chu Bei appeared on Imperial Pass city walls. At his side was a blue-dressed young lady who carried a white ball of flesh. The young lady looked like she was only 14 or 15. Her cultivation even more so pitifully weak, just at the spirit transformation realm. It was unknown how she arrived here. If there was a supreme being here, they would immediately be able to tell that the white ball of flesh she carried was extraordinary. That was a purebred divine beast Qilin. Great One Sure Hao, you can do it. You are the best. Kill all of these foreign Emperor clan young experts. Let them know how formidable we are. Kill them until they don't dare invade us again. The blue-dressed young lady shouted towards the endless desert with a face of worship, her expression just like a fangirl. Hey, who are you? Forget it. Who cares who you are? Hurry and cheer for Sure Hao Great One together. He killed 9 foreign Emperor clan young experts in a row. The blue-dressed young lady noticed Chu Bei's existence, tugging at Chu Bei's arm, having Chu Bei learn from her and shout. You really don't know how to appreciate the situation. Sure Hao Great One is fighting for our 9 heavens 10 earths. He is killing the enemy in our place. If not for him and Principal Meng, these supreme beings, would you still be standing here? When she saw Chu Bei remain unmoved, the blue-dressed young lady frowned, unable to help but glare at Chu Bei. It was the young Qilin in the blue-dressed young lady's arms that gave Chu Bei a look, instinctively trembling, its large watery eyes filled with fear. Chu Bei naturally wouldn't bicker with the blue-dressed young lady. After laughing, his eyes turned towards the battlefield. Chapter 472. When one looked carefully, the so-called battle between the 9 heavens 10 earths and the other side was nothing more than a battlefield between two individuals. On the battlefield, two figures continuously interweaved, bombarding each other, displaying unmatched precious techniques one after another. The 9 heavens 10 earths side, with Meng Tianjing in the lead, had a total of 9 supreme beings, 4 of them holding true immortal artifacts. On the other side, with a white-haired elder in the lead, there were a total of 30 supreme beings, more than 3 times the number of the 9 heavens 10 earths. Previously, the two sides already fought fiercely once. It was precisely because their peak fighting strength had clashed that the younger generation's experts fought. In terms of numbers, even though the number of supreme beings on the other side far exceeded the 9 heavens 10 earths, it was different from 500 years ago. This time, they actually didn't bring undying weapons. Meanwhile, among the 9 heavens 10 earths supreme beings, there were some who held true immortal artifacts, which was why they chose to have the supreme beings temporarily stop fighting. The other side's supreme beings didn't fight, so Meng Tianjing and the others naturally wouldn't take the initiative to attack either. After all, they only had 9 supreme beings left. Each time one died, there would be one less. It wasn't like the other side who could continuously send supreme beings over. Honglong. On the battlefield, a miserable scream sounded amidst the great noise. Within the interweaving radiance, a figure flew out. Immediately afterwards, before that figure could even stabilize himself, his body seemed to have been suddenly torn apart by a tremendous force. Even his soul was torn into nothingness. We won. We won again. Haha, 10 consecutive victories. What so-called foreign emperor clan? Before our sure how great one, they are nothing more than ants. Truly worthy of being Senior Chu's disciple. While looking at the figure that was torn apart, the 9 heavens 10 earths experts were first stunned, and then they cheered excitedly. Who else is there? Come and accept death. The void trembled, powerful voices echoing through the boundless great desert. On the battlefield, a silver-robed man coldly looked at the foreign experts in front of him, his eyes sweeping over the foreign younger generation, his bearing confident, his words carrying disdain. He stood in the void, his temperament graceful and aloof, his eyes carrying a type of shocking fighting intent. The most eye-catching thing was the massive divine pill floating behind him. Damn it! They are clearly at the same cultivation realm. Why is he so strong? What kind of ability is that? The foreign younger generation experts' fists were tightly clenched, their faces full of resentment as they stared at Sure Hao. Even though their killing intent was great, no one dared step forward. The other party killed 10 Emperor clan youngsters in a row. They were indeed scared. The other party's strange ability was really too terrifying. If they were at the same level, they would not be able to resist it at all. Did you see that? Great one, Sure Hao won again. Kill those foreign invaders until no one else dares to fight again. On the city wall, the girl in the blue dress looked at Chu Bei and swung his arm with one hand. She was wild with joy. Is there no one else? Your so-called Emperor clan younger generation is nothing more than this. Sure Hao's eyes shot out of the foreign supreme being's eyes, releasing a cold snort. How arrogant! When he heard Sure Hao belittle an Emperor clan, a foreign supreme being found it hard to endure the anger within him. With a raise of his hand, he immediately sent a palm smashing toward Sure Hao. Wherever the palm imprint passed, the void was instantly locked down. The void pill behind Sure Hao clearly slowed down. This really is your foreign side style of doing things. The matters of their younger generation. Are you treating us like we don't exist by interfering? When he saw that the foreign supreme being's palm imprint about to land on Sure Hao's body, Meng Tianjing released a shout. He immediately appeared in front of Sure Hao, and then a fist smashed outwards. Hong! A sky-shocking noise sounded. The terrifying fist force shattered the palm imprint, directly smashing towards the foreign supreme being who took action. Since you all want to fight, then let's fight. Meng Tianjing's ice-cold eyes swept over the foreign supreme beings. When his cold voice sounded, a tattered cloth appeared in front of him, dyed in blood. One could vaguely hear endless shouts of killing from within. This cloth was extremely tattered, moreover extremely wrinkled. There were a few holes on it, as if it was about to completely rot away. However, one could still tell that this was a banner. There were all types of filthy blood traces on it, too many imprints left behind by time. It's this immortal king corpse wrapping cloth again. When they saw Meng Tianjing summon the blood-dyed war banner, the expressions of the foreign supreme beings all changed, revealing expressions of restraining fear. It was clear that they knew how terrifying this cloth was. Zheng. At this time, a metallic sound rang out, as if a dragon roar or tiger roar. Immortal Wang flew to Meng Tianjing's side. In front of him, a divine spear appeared from the void, releasing dazzling immortal light. Its voice was cold, making one's soul tremble. It was 8 feet in length, full of sharpness, immortal light dazzling. This was a terrifying weapon that left one with a deep impression with just a single look. Hua. Zhao Haoyan also flew over, standing next to Meng Tianjing. The picture scroll in front of him moved, covering the sky. In the picture scroll, mountains and rivers were magnificent, great stars swirling about. A complete great world was presented, incredibly realistic. It quietly rested in the void just like that, yet a wave of terrifying aura pervaded the air, as if it was going to suppress the world. Xian Yuan Divine Spear, 10 Realms Diagram. When they saw Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan activate these 2 great immortal artifacts, the expressions of the foreign supreme beings became even more overcast. Hong Long Glong. Right when the atmosphere became strange, Heaven Abyss suddenly erupted. Immediately afterwards, that war halberd fiercely shook. Immediately afterwards, several spheres of light flew out from the halberd blade, floating in the air. They finally came. While looking at the weapons that contained unmatched auras in the spheres of light, the foreign supreme beings revealed smiles. Then, the foreign close to 30 supreme beings all held undying divine artifacts in their hands. They all looked towards Meng Tianjing, Immortal Wang, and the others, their eyes full of ridicule. Damn it! Turns out you all were stalling for time this entire time. When they saw the undying divine artifacts that suddenly appeared, the expressions of the 9 heavens, 10 earths supreme beings changed, becoming incomparably ugly. One of the 9 heavens supremes, who was the oldest among them, cursed. Indeed, when Wushang Great One sent us in, he told us that the undying divine artifacts could not come with us. Even if he took action, it might take a bit of time. At first, we thought that by relying on our advantage in numbers, even without the undying divine artifacts, we could still capture you all. Who knew, regardless of whether it was the immortal king corpse wrapping cloth, Xian Yuan Divine Spear, or 10 Realms Diagram, they were all far more difficult to deal with than we imagined. It was to the extent where, because we underestimated the enemy, we even lost 7 supreme beings. Because of this, we had no choice but to use stalling methods. However, we never expected that for the sake of stalling for time, that little fella actually slaughtered 10 of our Emperor clan's younger generation. Now, with our undying divine artifacts in hand, what are you all going to use to fight against us? The white-haired elder leading the foreign side held a purple longsword in his hands, the sword tip pointing straight at Meng Tianjing. The purple longsword carried immortal energy, swirling with immortal splendor. However, it also carried a wave of killing intent, going against the auspiciousness of the immortal Tao. It spread outwards, turning into a divine killing weapon. When they heard the white-haired elder's words, the expressions of the 9 heavens, 10 earths cultivators changed at the same time, all of them overcast to the extreme. The current situation is unfavorable for us. I wonder if the Supreme Being Great Ones can hold on. Perhaps Imperial Pass really is going to be broken through today. The number of Supreme Beings on the other side is 3 times that of ours. In desolate border battlefield, countless cultivators' auras began to rise. From their resolute expressions, They clearly already made preparations to fight to the death. What do we do? What do we do? The situation doesn't seem to be good. On the city wall, the blue-dressed young lady paced about, her face full of worry and anxiety. Attack! Don't leave a single one alive. Kill the supreme beings first, and then kill the small fries. On the battlefield, following the white-haired elder's orders, the foreign supreme beings all erupted with dazzling divine radiance, their auras rising to the extreme. They all held undying divine artifacts, smashing towards the 9 heavens 10 earths supreme beings. We still can't escape this disaster. While looking at the several supreme beings who threw themselves over, Meng Tianzheng released a deep sigh. As if he made some type of decision, a great roar sounded from his mouth like that of a great wasteland beast. Then, his eyes immediately became bloodshot. Revive, past war blood. Meng Tianjing released a low roar. Then, it was as if he suddenly became a different person. Unknowingly when a longbow appeared in his hands, the blood in his hands quickly seeping into the longbow at a speed visible to the naked eye. He was muttering, roaring, as if he was chanting an ancient incantation, wishing to release something. What is going on? Isn't that his Tao corroborating weapon? He seems to be destroying it. Why is this? When he noticed the cracks that were starting to spread on the longbow in Meng Tianjing's hands, the foreign supreme beings frowned, their faces carrying confusion. Meng Tianjing didn't pay the foreign supreme beings any attention, continuing to stroke the great bow in his hands, extremely softly, carrying reluctance, as well as a type of regret. Turns out it was like this. Your past Tao fruits and accomplishments are all within this bow. It was buried by you, producing great Tao life force. Immortal Wang seemed to have seen through something, his expression becoming complicated, a look of bewilderment appearing in his eyes. He said quietly, doing this, is it really worth it? Imperial Pass is about to be broken through. What is worth it? What is not worth it? Meng Tianzheng looked towards Immortal Wang, chuckling. One could vaguely see a figure appear from the bow that was about to collapse, as if it was Meng Tianzheng when he was young. Not good. His aura is becoming stronger. There is something strange. Attack together. Kill Meng Tianjing first. When they sensed Meng Tianjing's aura fluctuations, the foreign supreme beings noticed something strange. In that instant, the 5 foreign supreme beings who were comparatively closer all held undying divine artifacts, attacking Meng Tianjing together. Brother Meng, just let me buy you a few seconds. Immortal Wang shook his head, releasing a sigh. His hands gripped the Xian Yuan divine spear tightly, looking towards the 5 foreign supreme beings who slaughtered their way over. His eyes narrowed, killing intent surging. Wang. However, right when Immortal Wang was about to brandish the divine spear to face the enemy, a wave of chilliness mysteriously rose from behind him. Immediately afterwards, a wave of mysterious force he found hard to resist swept past his body. This type of feeling was as if he had brushed shoulders with death. When he reacted, looking forward again, the expressions of those 5 foreign supreme beings who held undying divine artifacts suddenly froze. Then, before they even had time to release miserable cries, their bodies and souls were simultaneously torn into nothingness by a wave of formless force. What happened to the 5 great ones? They were still fine just now. Why did they disappear all of a sudden? Even the undying divine artifacts are gone. Could it be that the 5 great ones died? What exactly is going on? Could it be related to that Meng Tianjing? Impossible. Those are 5 of our side's supreme beings. Even if he really has some kind of secret method, there is no way he could make 5 great ones disappear so quietly. The foreign younger generation looked at the 5 supreme beings who suddenly disappeared. They were first stunned, and then their expressions froze, faces full of confusion and disbelief. It was also at this moment that those foreign supreme beings who originally held undying divine artifacts slaughtered towards the other 9 heavens 10 earths experts stopped their attacks. Then, they all gave each other a look, and then their eyes landed on the white-haired elder in the lead, their eyes carrying fear, waiting for the other party's instructions. Chapter 473. Who is helping us? Could it be those restricted region great ones who took action? Is it really them? Ever since Immortal Ancients battle, they have never taken action. When they saw this scene, the 9 heavens, 10 earths supreme beings looked at each other in dismay. They looked around, as if they were searching for something. Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan held the Xian Yuan Divine Spear and 10 Realms diagram respectively, standing in front of Meng Tianjing. Meanwhile, Meng Tianjing's rising aura didn't stop, still continuing. Even though there was a mysterious formless force that helped him deal with danger, he didn't know the source of this power. Right now, he didn't dare gamble on whether or not that wave of power would appear again. Only by increasing his own strength could he protect Imperial Pass behind him. Who is it? So what if you were hiding your head and tail? The white-haired elder leading the foreign side scanned the surrounding void with his divine senses. He frowned, releasing a shout from his mouth. However, with his perception, he actually couldn't sense anything strange at all. Hurry and stop Meng Tianjing. When he saw that no one replied, the white-haired elder's eyes returned to Meng Tianjing, immediately giving the order. When they heard this, the foreign supreme beings, after exchanging looks, all of them held undying divine artifacts, smashing towards Meng Tianjing. This is a bit troublesome. While looking at the foreign supreme beings who attacked from all directions, Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan's expressions became extremely ugly. Not a single one of these foreign supreme beings was weaker than them. Brother Wang, Brother Zhao, I must ask you all to buy me another 30 seconds. A pleading voice sounded from Meng Tianjing's mouth. His skin was already bulging with veins, eyes even more so covered in wisps of blood. When his voice sounded, his aura erupted. The speed at which it rose doubled. Little fella, your Dao core hasn't formed yet. Doing things like this will not only sever your Dao, it will even bury your life. During these years, I'll have to trouble you to take care of my disciple. However, when they saw that the void figure within Meng Tianjing's bow was about to step out, a voice that carried laughter sounded from heaven and earth. Even though this voice wasn't loud, it seemed to have a wave of magical force, clearly sounding in everyone's minds. He appeared. When they heard this voice, Immortal Wang and Zhao Haoyan were first stunned. After a moment of absent-mindedness, their bodies began to tremble slightly. 1,000 years ago, thanks to the owner of this voice, their bodies were destroyed. However, at that moment, they did not feel any hatred. In the situation before them, to be able to hear this somewhat familiar voice made them feel inexplicably excited and happy. At the very least, with this person here, the Imperial Pass behind them was saved. It was also at this moment that Meng Tianjing's rising aura was forcibly suppressed by a force. The cracked longbow in his hand was repaired, and his skin began to recover its original appearance. His aura gradually stabilized. Senior, you're really back. Meng Tianjing took a deep breath, unable to conceal the excitement on his face. His relaxed expression was as if a huge rock that had been weighing down on his heart had been lifted. As for the other side, with the white-haired elder in the lead, the supreme being's brows were tightly furrowed, incredibly vigilant as they looked around the void. Rumble. Suddenly, an expanse of ripples arose in the space in front of Meng Tian, and then a blurry figure that was covered in chaos appeared within the ripples. Did you hear what he said to Meng Tianjing? He was thanking Meng Tianjing for grooming his disciple. Who was his disciple? Sure how? When the blurry figure appeared, the other side's younger generation were the first to cry out in alarm. Their eyes moved between Chu Bei and Shurhao's bodies. They personally witnessed the previous 10 battles. Shurhao slaughtered their younger generation's experts with an unmatched stance, slaughtering them until none of them dared fight. Hurry and look. It is definitely Senior Chu. Haha, he really appeared. This means that our Imperial Pass is saved. Everything is fine now. The 9 heavens, 10 earths cultivators stared blankly at the blurry figure that suddenly appeared on the battlefield. When they reacted, they were all incomparably excited, their faces full of joy. If this one didn't come back, would the 9 heavens, 10 earths still exist? A voice that carried laughter, but was also full of dignity, cut through the clamoring of the battlefield. Retreat. Hurry and retreat. Why did he come back? Great one. Who exactly is this person? 1,000 years ago, that existence who killed Anlin and Shuchuo Great One. The foreign supreme beings panicked, to the extent where they didn't even have time to worry about the Emperor clan younger generation, all of them rushing towards the Sea of Law. However, when they saw that these foreign supreme beings were about to borrow that war halberd to return to the other side, that void figure wrapped in primal chaos raised his arm. Immediately afterwards, these foreign supreme beings' figures were mysteriously locked in place by a wave of strange power, not moving at all, as if they were wooden people without life. Honglong. Under rumbling sounds, an expanse of white ripples surged from Chu Bei's palm. These ripples were like a cool breeze, blowing past the foreign great army. Chi chi chi. Under ear-splitting tearing sounds, regardless of whether it was the Emperor clan younger generation, supreme beings, or undying divine artifacts, they all turned into nothingness, disappearing from the 9 heavens 10 earths cultivators' line of sight. It's over. Those were more than 20 foreign supreme beings. They were all gone in an instant. What is there to be shocked about? Senior Chu is but an unmatched existence who killed Anlin and Shuchuo. Forget about supreme beings, even if the foreign undying came. In Senior Chu's eyes, they would still be nothing more than ants, able to be killed with a raise of his hand. While looking at the foreign great army that instantly disappeared, the 9 heavens 10 earths cultivators stared blankly for a moment. Then, they raised their heads towards that figure in the sky, their expressions incredibly respectful. Disciple, long time no see. Chu Bei's figure flickered, and in the blink of an eye, he appeared at Shi Hao's side. Words that carried a smile were released from his mouth. Disciple pays his respects to master. A familiar voice sounded by his ears. When he saw this figure he missed for 1,000 years, Shi Hao took a deep breath. With a pung sound, he knelt down in the air. You can get up. Chu Bei waved his sleeve, supporting Shi Hao, still the same as before. While looking at Chu Bei, the 9 heavens 10 earths experts cried out in alarm, all of them bowing, eyes carrying sincere gratitude. Many thanks to Senior for lending a hand. Meng Tianjing immediately flew to Chu Bei's side. Immortal Wang, Zhao Haoyan, and the other supreme beings followed closely behind. At this moment, the one whose expression changed the most was none other than the blue-dressed young lady who carried the purebred Qilin on the city wall. Turns out he was Senior Shi Hao's master. Then if I enter Senior Shi Hao's tutelage, wouldn't he be my grandmaster? The instant Shi Hao called Chu Bei master, the blue-dressed young lady's expression suddenly became gray. Her entire body felt as if it was struck by lightning from the 9 heavens, at a loss for what to do, as if she was a clay sculpture. In the end, she was even more stupefied, staring blankly at Chu Bei. Master, where have you been during these 1,000 years? Shi Hao looked at Chu Bei, asking probingly. Ever since I left 1,000 years ago, Master has always been comprehending the Tao. Only recently, when I sensed the dangers of the 9 heavens 10 earths, did I come out. Chu Bei patted Shi Hao's shoulder, saying sincerely, as a matter of fact, as soon as I came out, Master came to see you. Many thanks for Master's concern. When he heard Chu Bei's words, Shi Hao's face revealed a look of joy, as if he returned to the past. Shi Hao, Senior, the heaven abyss you shattered back then seems to be a bit unstable again. Meng Tianzhang walked up, cupping his fists towards Chu Bei. Don't worry, with this one here, nothing will happen to the 9 heavens 10 earths. Chu Bei laughed. He naturally understood what Meng Tianzhang was worried about. Honglonglong. Rumbling sounds rang out again. That war halberd that already had a large half of it pass through heaven abyss trembled. Then, the sea of natural laws erupted. Endless symbols flickered with radiance, interweaving with each other, releasing a terrifying aura. Come and fight. An ear-splitting voice full of dignity sounded from the other side of the sea of natural laws. Then, a figure appeared in the collapsing heaven abyss. He gripped the war halberd with one hand, allowing heaven abyss power to bombard him, not taking half a step back. Why did old ancestor Wu Shang enter heaven abyss again? Didn't the 9 heavens 10 earth side already hand over to those supreme being great ones? With an undying divine artifact in hand, logically speaking, the 9 heavens 10 earths should have already been broken through. Don't tell me something strange happened over there. Otherwise, why would old ancestor Wu Shang be so angry? On the other side, tens of millions of soldiers stood in an orderly manner on the great desert, no lack of undying existences among them. When they saw Wu Shang step into heaven abyss, the war halberd in hand releasing a shout, they all revealed expressions of shock. Their brows furrowed one after another, carrying confusion. There were some voices of suspicion as well. Because of the suppression of natural laws in heaven abyss, Wu Shang couldn't directly cross the sea of natural laws. He could only stand in heaven abyss, coldly staring in the direction of the 9 heavens 10 earths. Those eyes that carried purple radiance were especially intimidating. Even though they were separated by heaven abyss, when they met eyes, they would still mysteriously feel a wave of coldness, making one tremble in fear. It's that undying king. Is he going to fight against Senior Chu? Wu Shang, the existence known as a killing machine from a mortal ancient war. While looking at the figure that appeared in heaven abyss, the cultivators of the 9 heavens 10 earths who were originally still celebrating immediately calmed down, their expressions becoming heavy. In the end, their eyes all landed on Chu Bei's body. Senior, this Wu Shang is even a level higher than Anlin and Shichuo, his strength also above theirs. Right now, he cannot cross heaven abyss, so your respected self does not need to fight against him. I wonder if your respected self can strengthen this heaven abyss a bit more? When Meng Tianzhong continuously said the name Wu Shang, irregular scenes appeared above his head. However, this irregular scene didn't even last for half a second, and then it was torn into nothingness by the terrifying power released from Chu Bei's body. The reason why he didn't want Chu Bei to fight against Wu Shang was because this Wu Shang's reputation really was too terrifying. In a mortal ancient war, his prestige far exceeded Anlin and Shichuo. Right now, Chu Bei was the backbone of the 9 heavens 10 earths. If something really happened to the other party, then the 9 heavens 10 earths would really be completely finished. Do you feel like this one won't accept the challenge? Chu Bei looked at Meng Tianzhong, and after laughing, he flew towards heaven abyss with his hands behind his back. Master, don't worry. A mere 6th heaven celestial king. Master still doesn't think much of him. Sure Hao revealed a worried expression, but before he could finish speaking, he was interrupted by Chu Bei with a wave of his hand. Senior Chu is accepting the challenge. Is he going to fight against that undying king from the other side? Looking at Chu Bei's back, the cultivators of the 9 heavens 10 earths sucked in a breath of air, all of them holding their breaths in concentration, beginning to feel nervous. Compared to the 9 heavens 10 earths, when Chu Bei appeared in heaven abyss, the expressions of the foreign elites could be considered to have truly undergone a world-shaking change. Especially those true immortal elites, their pupils rapidly widening, the space between their brows filled with shock. It's him, that celestial king who killed Lord Anlin and Lord Shichuo 1,000 years ago. No wonder Lord Wu Shang would take action. Most likely our supreme beings have already been killed by him. A portion of the foreign cultivators recognized Chu Bei, all of them frowning. 1,000 years ago, it was you who killed Anlin and Shichuo? In heaven abyss, Wu Shang looked coldly at Chu Bei, his face expressionless. A wave of killing intent that had condensed into tangible form shook apart the sea of regulations in front of him, heading towards Chu Bei. If you missed the two of them, this lord will send you to see them right now. Chu Bei looked at Wu Shang with a smile, not moving at all, allowing the other party's tangible killing intent to land on him, not affected in the slightest. In an instant, the sea of regulations surged crazily, forming a massive barrier around Chu Bei and Wu Shang. Wu Shang looked at Chu Bei and did not say anything more. With a cold humph, the halberd in his hand directly swept out. Chong! There were millions of halberd rays, killing intent overflowing into the heavens. In an instant, a flash of terrifying halberd light shot murderously towards Chu Bei. Chu Bei did not dodge, pointing his finger out. Chaotic, immortal light spread out from his fingertip, instantly wrapping around the halberd light. Then, there was a crisp shattering sound, and the halberd light turned into powder. You really do have some ability. No wonder Shuchuo and Anlin failed. Wu Shang frowned, and as his cold voice fell, he held the halberd with both hands, then raised it above his head, the tip of the halberd pointing straight at Chu Bei. Great Dao runes interweaved in his hands, and with a loud shout, he directly threw the halberd out. Chu Bei's eyes narrowed, and his palm turned into a fist. A supreme power interweaved on the surface of his fist, and a fist blasted out, facing the halberd. Ka. Cold light dazzled the 9 heavens, and accompanied by a crisp sound, the halberd that Wu Shang threw over was directly shattered into countless pieces. In an instant, the foreign cultivators were stunned. This scene left them dead silent, even those undying existences' bodies trembling slightly, an ice-cold chill running from head to toe. Crimson Gold Halberd. This was the undying King Wu Shang's Dao-proving weapon. In a mortal ancients battle, it had pierced through many immortal kings in the 9 heavens 10 earths, soaked in the blood of countless immortal kings, slaughtering out a vicious reputation. However, just now, when it clashed with that man from the 9 heavens 10 earths, it was blasted to pieces by the latter's fist. How could Wu Shang Great One's Dao-proving weapon be shattered? The foreign cultivators' faces were full of disbelief as they stared at heaven abyss. The halberd fragments there were currently being swallowed up by the sea of natural laws, all the way until they completely disappeared. Could it be that he really already stands at the same height as Wu Shang Great One? 1,000 years ago, he killed Shuchuo Great One and Anlin Great One, almost fighting against Scarlet King. When they thought of the deeds of that person in the sea of natural laws, the foreign cultivators' expressions of shock eased a bit, starting to accept the scene they just saw. Chapter 474. In Heaven Abyss, Wu Shang's expression became more and more serious. At present, the person he was facing was more troublesome than he had imagined. Use whatever techniques you have, or you won't have the chance to use them again. There was a smile on Chu Bei's lips. Behind him, layers of white ripples spread out into the distance like a spider's web. Now, he had also exchanged for a top-tier level 19 killing product, and his strength was equivalent to peak stage 9th Heaven Celestial King. Roar. With a roar, Wu Shang's body suddenly twisted and swelled. Immediately afterward, he changed from human form into a terrifying ancient beast that looked like a true hoe. The ancient beast that Wu Shang had transformed into struck out with its front paw. It was pitch black and huge, like a small mountain, and stirred up the sea of regulations. Wherever this strike passed, seals of great Dao bloomed, accompanied by the terrifying power of regulations, and charged towards Chu Bei. Its might was even above that of the battle halberd from before. Chu Bei still did not retreat. He glanced calmly at the huge paw, not the slightest bit afraid. He raised his hand again and met the attack head-on. Auspicious light shone from his palm and fingers, and even the whole heaven abyss shook as if there was a huge, invisible force tearing at it. Dang! The palm and the paw collided, a sonorous sound shocking the heavens. Amidst the loud sound, it was as if heaven abyss had been ignited. The scene inside was extremely terrifying. One could faintly see where the two had collided. There were stars falling, burning, and then being swallowed up by the sea of regulations. Roar. Wu Shang released a bestial roar again. Then, he opened his mouth, and a 9-colored beam of light that contained endless terrifying energy was shot out. The two figures intertwined endlessly, fighting fiercely in the collapsing heaven abyss. Layers of ripples and light produced by explosions reflected each other. In the aftermath, a large number of stars that had come from unknown places exploded, turning into fine powder. Looking over, Wu Shang's expression became more and more serious. His aura also began to become chaotic, and his attacks were stacked one after another. It was as if he wanted to end this battle as soon as possible. But no matter how he sped up his attacks, and even began to burn a small amount of source blood essence, forcibly raising his power by another minor level, he still could not do anything to his opponent. Looking back at Chu Bei, his expression had not changed much from beginning to the end. As he raised his hand to meet the attacks, he had been incredibly calm and composed. You've already reached your limit? As Chu Bei's mocking voice fell, his aura suddenly soared. With a bang, he sent Wu Shang flying. Blood and flesh splattered everywhere. Damn you! Wu Shang glared at Chu Bei, his eyes filled with killing intent. As his cold voice fell, Wu Shang revealed his Dharma idol behind him. It was as tall as Tian Yuan. He opened his mouth and spat out a breath. Black flames burned the sea of laws. The exploding stars were like the most beautiful fireworks, making people's hair stand on end. It was also at this moment that Wu Shang's body became crystal clear, and purple mist rose from the surface of his body. This is Lord Wu Shang's innate ability. Rumor has it that Lord Wu Shang is invincible once he uses his divine ability. However, it's said that every time Lord Wu Shang uses his innate ability, it consumes a lot of his energy. It is said that the last time he used his innate ability was when he was fighting with Lord Scarlet King. That immortal king of the 9 heavens 10 earths is truly terrifying. To actually force Lord Wu Shang to this extent. The foreign undying existences seem to have seen the changes in Wu Shang's body. They all cried out in surprise, and at the same time, they were filled with anticipation. In the battle of a mortal ancient, the fundamental reason why Wu Shang gained a fierce reputation was also because of his heaven-defying innate ability, which allowed him to be immune to all damage. You are worthy of me taking you seriously. Wu Shang's voice was ice-cold, shattering the surrounding sea of laws. That sound wave seemed like it was going to destroy the world. Chu Bei was unmoved. His entire body was wrapped in a dense white light. The terrifying sound wave released by Wu Shang was annihilated by the dense white light before it even touched him. Kill! Wu Shang roared. The purple mist around his body became resplendent to the extreme, covering his entire body. Then, he used his most powerful killing move and pounced at Chu Bei. The most powerful attack plus immunity to his innate ability, this was his most powerful combination. Is this all you've got? Looking at Wu Shang who was pouncing over, Chu Bei noticed the purple mist around the other party's body. He didn't forget to mock him. He raised his hand and waved it. In an instant, he appeared in front of Wu Shang and used his original body to punch out. Pong! A loud noise sounded. Chu Bei's fist and the purple mist interweaved together. Resplendent and dazzling radiance deprived the foreign cultivators and the experts of the 9 heavens 10 earths of their vision. They could only see an expanse of whiteness, unable to see anything. Impossible. However, before the rumbling sounds of the collision disappeared, Wu Shang's terrified voice sounded from heaven abyss. Immediately afterwards, following a trembling sound, an incomparably massive fist imprint appeared in the resplendent battlefield. Then, the dazzling radiance dissipated. When they saw the scene in heaven abyss again, the foreign cultivators, including the undying beings, were all stunned. They all seemed to have lost their voices, their faces full of shock as they looked at heaven abyss. The corners of their mouths were moving, but they couldn't make any sound. How could it be like this? Lord Wu Shang clearly already used his innate ability. What exactly is going on? It can even be immune to Lord Scarlet King's attacks, but why isn't it effective this time? Is that fella already terrifying enough to restrain Lord Wu Shang's innate ability? Finally, someone from the foreign cultivators spoke up, his voice carrying disbelief, full of restraining fear and fear. In heaven abyss, the purple mist around Wu Shang's body shattered, his body wrapped around by tens of thousands of cold white streaks of light. These streaks of light were currently crazily tearing apart his flesh and soul. If one followed these streaks of light, the source was actually Chu Bei's fist. You are clearly immune to all attacks, so why were you still able to injure me? Wu Shang seemed to be unable to move, his expression filled with incomparable pain, looking at Chu Bei with incomparable unwillingness. In front of absolute power, how can there be immunity? Chu Bei's lips carried a smile. After speaking, he pointed out again. With a hong-long noise, endless streaks of light tore apart at the same time. Wu Shang's flesh and soul exploded, dissolving into the sea of natural laws. Defeated, Lord Wushang was defeated. After Lord Anlin and Lord Shichuo, Lord Wushang was also killed by this person. Retreat. Hurry and retreat. Report this matter to the other great ones. While looking at Wushang, who was torn into nothingness in heaven abyss, the four inside's cultivators reacted, their faces revealing fear. Almost at the same time, the foreign undying existences gave Chu Bei, who stood in heaven abyss with his hands behind his back, a look of great fear, immediately giving the order to retreat. Chu Bei gave the withdrawing foreign great army an indifferent look, not paying them any attention, seriously sizing up this collapsed heaven abyss again. With his current strength, even though he could pierce through heaven abyss, it would take him a bit of time. We won. We won again. With this, I fear that the other side won't dare rashly attack again. That's right. They've already lost 3 immortal kings. Even if their backing is deep, how many undying kings can they have? Many thanks to Senior for taking action. The 9 heavens 10 earth's cultivators, under Meng Tianjing's lead, immediately bowed deeply towards Chu Bei. All of you can rise, go back and accompany your families. With this one here, Imperial Pass won't be broken through. When Chu Bei's light voice sounded, the cultivators of the 9 heavens 10 earths gave each other a look, all of them revealing expressions of joy. In less than an hour, there were only a few people left outside Imperial Pass that were originally filled with cultivators. Senior Sure How. At this time, an Oriole-like voice drifted over from the city walls. Then, a blue-dressed young lady flew towards Chu Bei and Sure How. Principal Ming, why did you bring your precious granddaughter as well? When he saw the blue-dressed young lady, Sure How immediately felt a headache. Didn't she make a fuss about taking you on as her master? She threatened that if I didn't bring her over, she would cut her own throat for me to see. As such, I could only bring her over. Meng Tianjing shrugged, appearing extremely helpless. Senior Sure How, your respected self should just take me as your disciple. My talent is quite good. I definitely won't lose face for your respected self. The blue-dressed young lady looked at Sure How with incomparable sincerity, her large watery eyes full of expectation. Sure How immediately supported the blue-dressed young lady who was about to kneel, shaking his head and saying, I haven't finished learning myself yet. There are still many things I haven't figured out on my path of cultivation, so how can I take you on as my disciple? Senior Sure How, I beg your respected self. After being refused again, the blue-dressed young lady directly sat down on the ground, hugging Sure Hao's thigh. Don't make things difficult for yourself. Master and this girl have karma, so just take her under your tutelage. Right when Sure How opened his mouth to refuse again, before he even finished speaking, Chu Bei's voice sounded. Sure How was first stunned, and then he bowed towards Chu Bei. This disciple will sincerely obey Master's orders. Master above, please accept Ling Er's bow. Almost at the same time, the blue-dressed young lady knelt down in front of Sure How with incomparable excitement, carrying out the ceremony of taking him on as her master 3 times. When Sure How nodded in agreement, the blue-dressed young lady stroked her knees and then looked towards Chu Bei. When she thought of her previous actions towards Chu Bei on the city wall, her face immediately flushed red. This grand disciple has offended Grandmaster before. Please punish me. The ignorant are innocent. Why would this one bicker with you? Chu Bei's words carried a smile, but it was Meng Tianjing who was on the side who was a bit stupefied, as if he was a monk who couldn't figure out what was going on. After desolate borders matters were settled, Chu Bei entered Imperial Pass under Meng Tianjing's invitation. The same day, in the skies above the continuous mountain range outside Imperial Pass, incomparably terrifying 9 heavens lightning descended. A figure faced the lightning, releasing terrifying aura fluctuations. The instant this aura broke through, it directly caught up to the veteran supreme beings Immortal Wang, Zhao Haoyan, and Meng Tianjing. Sure How became a supreme being. Heavens! This is too crazy. As soon as Senior Chu descended, Sure How directly broke through, and this aura is actually not weaker than Principal Ming's in the slightest. I heard that Ming Ling entered Sure How Great One's tutelage. I really am envious of her. You all might not know that the reason Ming Ling could enter Sure How Great One's tutelage was all thanks to Senior Chu. Otherwise, Sure How Great One definitely wouldn't have accepted her. When Sure How Great One was at the self-release realm, he could already fight against normal supreme beings. Now that he truly entered the supreme being realm, with his innate divine abilities, wouldn't his strength already be above Principal Ming's? It is to the extent where he can even fight against true immortals? Even if this really is the case, it still isn't anything to be shocked about. He is but the personal disciple of that great one who killed 3 undying kings from the other side. In the skies above Emperor City, powerful figures appeared one after another. They looked in the direction of the continuous mountain range, revealing expressions of shock. Many thanks for Master's help. After Sure How stabilized his aura, he immediately flew up to Chu Bei, bowing deeply. The path of cultivation is endless. You must remember that every step has to be taken perfectly. Only like this can you walk further, reach the end of the path. Chu Bei patted Sure Hao's shoulder, saying this with heartfelt words. This disciple will carefully follow Master's instructions. Sure Hao looked pensive, his originally impatient heart calming down. Chapter 475. The next day, the cultivators in Imperial Pass were still immersed in the joy of victory. However, suddenly, the distant sky dome above desolate border battlefield trembled intensely. Then, a strange wong noise sounded, and then an expanse of mysterious dazzling light appeared. Then, a streak of light directly descended from the dazzling light. Honglong. At this moment, the collapsing heaven abyss seemed to have been ignited by this streak of light. In that instant, its sea of natural laws surged. Qi. The space above heaven abyss split apart, as if an immortal gate was opened. Dazzling brilliance shone, as if it was going to illuminate the past, present, and future. Immortal Tao power poured down, natural laws everywhere. A rain of ascension light poured down endlessly, descending from the highest point, covering heaven abyss. What is happening now? Could it be that the foreign side still isn't willing to give up? Are they trying to attack again? No, this is different from before. It isn't the foreign side's people. Regardless, we have to report to Principal Ming and Senior Chu first. While looking at the irregular scenes that suddenly appeared above heaven abyss, the patrolling cultivators on Imperial Pass walls were stunned, all of them stupefied. When they reacted, there were immediately people who flew into the city, extremely alarmed. Hurry and look. That's actually a gate. Could it be that it leads to some place? When Principal Ming comes, everything will be clear. Even if he doesn't know, Senior Chu will definitely know. While discussing, the gate above heaven abyss took form. Divine chains of order were concentrated within, numbering in the tens of thousands, surging with endless immortal light, releasing an intimidating aura. Those are immortal Tao domain natural laws. A veteran supreme being who was the closest arrived. After just a glance at the gate's immortal light, he revealed a look of shock. Xiao, Xiao, Xiao. After this veteran supreme being, there were several streaks of divine rainbows that appeared. Imperial City's supreme beings all came. Among them Ming Tianjing, Immortal Wang, Zhao Haoyin, and others. Principal, this is? A self-release realm cultivator asked. It is related to immortal domain. A long time later, Ming Tianjing took a deep breath, saying with furrowed brows, Elder Ming, the immortal domain you mentioned, what kind of place is that? Why have I never heard of it after tens of thousands of years? As long as it isn't the foreign side. When they heard the words immortal domain from Ming Tianjing's mouth, all cultivators below the self-release realm revealed looks of bewilderment. However, the powerful existences above the self-release realm all revealed expressions of shock. Buzz buzz. Without waiting for Ming Tianjing's reply, the gate above heaven abyss surged with layers of symbols. It was like a sealing formation, landing in heaven abyss. It possessed sealing power, cutting through the 9 heavens, 10 earths, and the foreign side. In just a few breaths of time, the sound of a sacrificial offering came from the array. The sea of laws surged, and several blurry phantoms actually appeared. They seemed to be building a city, but also seemed to be building a wall, sealing the center of heaven abyss. Gradually, the sound of worship faded away. The crowd of cultivators was shocked to find that the originally crumbling heaven abyss had solidified, as if it had turned into a solid wall that could not be crossed. Could it be that under this wave of mysterious power, heaven abyss truly separated us from the other side? A supreme being said. Then, he activated a Tao corroboration magical artifact, throwing it towards heaven abyss in a probing manner. In the past, their magical artifacts would directly enter the sea of laws, but this time, it was different. The magical artifacts fell as soon as they made contact with heaven abyss, stopped outside. Immortal domain's highest law force, are they really helping us? Zhao Haoyan's eyes were deep as he stared at heaven abyss, unable to see through what he was thinking. It really is sealed forever? Immortal Wang's brows furrowed tightly. Hurry and look. Something else came out from the immortal gate. A self-release realm expert cried out in alarm. When they looked over, they saw a stele fly out from the immortal gate, both sides engraved with eye-catching immortal texts. The front side of the stele. Heaven abyss is forever sealed. The foreign side cannot cross over for 1,000,000 years. Because this formation absorbs the power of the 9 heavens 10 earths, after 1,000,000 years, the 9 heavens 10 earths will also wither away and be destroyed. The backside of the stele. Immortal Domain's gate is about to open. This was an immortal stele, the front and back sides only a few dozen words, but it directly shocked everyone here. This is too great. Heaven abyss is forever sealed. Nothing will happen for 1,000,000 years. We don't have to worry about the foreign side invading anymore. A self-severing realm cultivator reacted, laughing happily. Shut up. A supreme being immediately berated. Even though it is peaceful now, after 1,000,000 years, the entire 9 heavens 10 earths will fall. The best situation is that in a cultivationless age, none of us can cultivate anymore. The worst situation is that the entire 9 heavens 10 earths will be directly destroyed at that time. Another supreme being spoke. What exactly are these immortal domain fellas doing? At the crucial moment, they didn't show themselves. Now, the danger has been neutralized by seniors, yet they are doing this. Immortal Wang frowned, his words carrying anger. Immortal Domain's actions were no different from drinking poison to quench thirst. Year after year passed. Even if there were no more foreign invasions, this world was still weakening, endlessly absorbed by the formation. After 1,000,000 years, the 9 heavens 10 earths would reach their end. Perhaps they could peacefully make it through their later years. But what about their descendants? Where should they go from here? This matter cannot be leaked out for now. Right when the supreme beings were resentful, Meng Tianjing said, Immortal Domain's gates are about to open. There will definitely be people from that side who will descend. At that time, we will discuss this matter with them. Senior, I wonder what your respected self's opinion is? Meng Tianjing turned around, looking towards Chu Bei, his expression incredibly respectful. Chu Bei chuckled. With a step, he already appeared above that sealing great formation in heaven abyss. He struck out with a palm, terrifying power surging from his palm, releasing a terrifying aura that could wipe out heaven and earth. Immediately afterwards, a great honglong noise rang out. The sealing great formation directly collapsed, turning into a rain of light and scattering. Then, that solid wall in heaven abyss disappeared without a trace, recovering its original appearance. Right at this time, that gate above heaven abyss exploded, resplendent and dazzling, as if brilliant fireworks erupted. Senior, when they saw Chu Bei's actions, including Meng Tianjing, Immortal Wang, and the other supreme beings were instantly stunned, all of them entering a daze. Those cultivators at the self-release realm and below were immediately stupefied as well. They stared blankly at Chu Bei, their mouths wide open. Is this really that hard to decide? Could it be that you all want to see your homeland nibbled away at? You all only care about yourselves, not caring about your descendants? Chu Bei smiled as he looked at the supreme beings. Of course not. After the supreme beings decisively shook their heads, their brows furrowed. Only, Senior's actions might incur Immortal Domain's dissatisfaction. Do you all feel like this one cares about Immortal Domain? Chu Bei's lips carried a smile. When they heard Chu Bei's words, the supreme beings exchanged a look. When they thought of the other party's strength, killing 3 undying kings in succession, even if it was an immortal domain, this was still an overlord-level existence, right? Many thanks to Senior for taking action, protecting our homeland. When they thought of this, the supreme beings bowed towards Chu Bei again, their eyes carrying gratitude. At the same time, in a corner of a mortal domain, Great One, the gate to the 9 heavens 10 earths has disappeared. The silver-haired elder spoke, his brows furrowed. The Great One the silver-haired elder spoke of was a purple-haired man who looked no more than 20-something years of age. His hands were behind his back, dressed in 10,000 beast robes, surrounded by terrifying immortal energy. What is going on? The purple-haired man's brows were tightly furrowed. It should be those old fellas who couldn't return and were contaminated, right? Before the silver-haired elder spoke, a woman dressed in a fiery red long dress walked over. Even though she didn't look that old, from the aura she released that wasn't weaker than the purple-haired man's, she was clearly an old fella who had lived for who knew how many years. It seems like we can only open another one. When the day of descent arrives, we'll properly investigate the one who destroyed the gate. The purple-haired man released a cold snort, his eyes narrowed, cold light flickering about. When his voice fell, the purple-haired man's body surged with immortal Tao light. His hands continuously interweaved, gathering immortal Tao light, producing it in the void. I wonder what kind of good seedlings the 9 heavens 10 earths will produce this time. I hope they don't disappoint me. The long-dressed woman had a faint smile on her face, her slender hands also producing immortal radiance, helping the purple-haired man establish a new gate. According to what this little one understands, there is a fella in the 9 heavens 10 earths named Hao. His talent is extremely terrifying, moreover having the ability to fight above his level. This is especially the case with the divine ability he grasps, even more so incomparably strange. That old servant said respectfully, Hao, innate divine ability? A bit interesting. I'll remember this name. The purple-haired man's eyes narrowed. When the new gate forms, I'll take a look. If he really is to my liking, I'll bring him back to 10,000 Beast Palace. This time, there are quite a few fellas heading to the 9 heavens 10 earths. If you act too late, he might not necessarily be yours. The long-dressed woman said with a laugh. The third day, 9 heavens 10 earths, Imperial Pass, desolate border. Under strange rumbling sounds, the distant heavens above heaven abyss shone brilliantly, blurry gate void images appearing one after another. Wong wong. Rumbling sounds rang out above heaven abyss. Thousands of gates appeared, several figures vaguely visible within each gate. All of you, hurry and look above. Immortal Domain's gates are opening again. The cultivators in Emperor City looked at the gates in the distant heavens, all of them stupefied, expressions of disbelief on their faces. Regarding Immortal Domain, very few people knew about it for a long time. Only when Heaven Abyss abnormalities happened did a supreme being speak of Immortal Domain's matters. News spread like wildfire, the speed extremely fast, spreading through the 9 heavens 10 earths in less than a day. More and more cultivators learned that above the 9 heavens 10 earths, there was a boundless immortal domain. There were true immortals there, true unmatched experts. It was the source of many inheritances, ancestral bloodlines. Immortal Domain was countless times larger than the 9 heavens 10 earths. Immortal Domain's gates are opening. Do we all have a chance of heading there? If we go there, wouldn't we no longer have to worry about foreign invasions? Moreover, it is rumored that Immortal Domain's spiritual essence is 10 times, 100 times richer than the 9 heavens 10 earths. Don't even think about it. Immortal Domain's gates opening is only for those people in Immortal Domain to choose disciples from our 9 heavens 10 earths, to choose the most powerful seeds. No wonder those established families have been making such great movements recently, not hesitating to use heavenly treasures to spoil things. They most likely all want their clan's juniors to catch the attention of those from Immortal Domain, thus basking in their glory. Countless cultivators in the 9 heavens 10 earths discussed spiritedly, Chapter 476. Honglong. Another sky-shocking noise sounded through Imperial Pass, only to see a gate above desolate border city walls release brilliant radiance. 3 figures walked out from within, 2 elders and a black-clothed youngster. So this is the lower realm? It really is a land lacking in resources after all. It seems like this trip won't go smoothly. The black-clothed youngster lowered his head, eyes indifferently sweeping over Imperial Pass soldiers. He frowned, his expression a bit ugly. We came from a mortal domain, young master, even more so personally descending. Why is there no one here to welcome us? Right now, where is your lower realm's most powerful individual? Hurry and have him welcome us on his knees. An elder at the black-clothed youngster's side shouted, his voice echoing through every corner of Imperial Pass, releasing a terrifying aura. This was a supreme being who already cultivated a mortal Dao aura. Xiao, xiao, xiao. Several streaks of divine rainbows flew past. Meng Tianzheng, Zhao Haoyan, Immortal Wang, and the others appeared, their brows tightly furrowed. Hong Long Long. Meng Tianzheng and the others were just about to speak when the clouds in the distant sky roiled, divine radiance dazzling, thunder rumbling continuously. More figures walked out from the gates. 1, 2, 3. In just a few seconds, the 1,000 gates all opened. Close to 10,000 immortal domain experts floated in the sky, looking down. The 9-ly ceiling great formation has collapsed. Thousands upon thousands of immortal realm experts descended. First, they roughly sensed the density of the spiritual qi in the 9 heavens and 10 earths. When their gazes landed on heaven abyss below and sensed the dissipating aura of the formation runes, their expressions were as fascinating as they could be. It was as if they had seen a ghost. They were dumbfounded, and their mouths were opened so wide that a fist could be stuffed in. How is this possible? That is but a great formation personally refined by Immortal King Great One for several years. How did it shatter? Just what exactly happened? After recovering from their shock, Immortal Domains experts looked towards Meng Tianjing, Immortal Wang, and the others, questioning them. The foreign realm's danger has already been neutralized. We are temporarily fine. Even though Immortal King Great One's actions can help us resolve the foreign realm's problem in the short term, in the long term, this is extremely disadvantageous for us. Meng Tianzhang raised his head towards the immortal domain experts in the sky dome above, his words extremely tactful, brazen. How can you disobey the actions of the Lord Immortal King? Moreover, with your strength, not to mention destroying the 9 Dawn ceiling formation, you probably won't even be able to break open a corner of it. The supreme being of the celestial realm shouted, and his gaze of disdain didn't take Meng Tianjing seriously in the slightest. When they heard this, Meng Tianjing, Immortal Wang, and the others frowned, but no one replied. Could it be that it was done by those existences in the Forbidden Zone? An immortal region old man frowned and guessed. I'm afraid they're the only ones who can do it. If that's the case, we can only report this matter to the Immortal King, another old man said. Forget it. Let's get down to business first. At this moment, a young man in a red robe among the experts of the immortal realm spoke up. The purpose of us descending to the lower realm this time is to select qualified seeds from your younger generation and bring them to the immortal realm for nurturing. If they are lucky enough, they can even become the followers of the Immortal King's descendants. The red-robed young man's voice was forceful, and the sound waves were accompanied by the aura of the immortal Tao, spreading throughout the 9 heavens and 10 earths. In that instant, the 9 heavens 10 earths seemed to have erupted into commotion, discussing among themselves. Among them, there were a few people from ancient families who even revealed looks of anticipation. Which one of you knows of a fella named Shihao? Suddenly, a calm voice drifted through the heavens. When they looked over, the one who spoke was a purple-haired male who looked to be less than 20-something years of age. His hands were behind his back, dressed in 10,000 beast robes, surrounded by terrifying immortal energy. At the purple-haired male's side stood a woman dressed in a fiery red long dress. The aura she released wasn't weaker than the purple-haired male's in the slightest. Hurry and look. Myriad Beast Palace Lord actually personally came. There's also Fairy Jade Wave. Speaking of which, who is the sure how he spoke of? For the myriad beast palace lord to specifically want him, his talent is definitely extremely terrifying, definitely a monster from the lower realm. When Immortal Domains experts recognized the purple-haired male's identity, they all revealed looks of horror. It was clear that among these people from Immortal Domain, the purple-haired male's status was no small matter. Great One Sure How? He actually took a fancy to Great One Sure How. Great One Sure How is Senior Chu's disciple. These people from Immortal Domain are so domineering. I fear that things won't end well. When they heard the purple-haired male's words, the cultivators of the 9 heavens 10 earths began to discuss quietly. Great One, the sure how you speak of already has a master. I fear that he cannot become your respected self's disciple. Meng Tianjing took a step forward, cupping his fists towards the purple-haired male with incomparable respect. The aura the other party released made him feel pressured, as if he was already at the true immortal realm. However, as soon as he finished speaking, the other party already casually detained a cultivator from Imperial Pass city walls. Speak, where is Sure How? The purple-haired male's voice sunk, carrying a wave of dignity. When surrounded by terrifying pressure, that cultivator who was detained immediately revealed a look of fear, his body shivering. He hurriedly pointed towards the largest manor in Imperial Pass, saying with a trembling voice, Great One Sure How is there? The purple-haired male released a cold snort. After throwing that cultivator back onto the city walls, he turned into a divine rainbow, instantly appearing in the skies above that manor. This style of doing things, truly worthy of being myriad beast palace lord. Simply too domineering. However, it does make sense. If those existences in the restricted region don't come out, there won't be a single immortal Dao expert in the lower realms. In the sky dome above, below the opened gate, a group of immortal domain experts cast their eyes towards the purple-haired male. They were also extremely curious as to just what was so special about this Sure How. Peng. However, right when close to 10,000 immortal domain experts heard the purple-haired male's undeniable order, looking forward to seeing Sure How, a sky-shocking noise sounded from the distant skies. Immediately afterwards, a terrifying aura rippled outwards. This wave of aura made their souls tremble, instinctively feeling a type of fear. Immediately afterwards, in their line of sight, a giant hand moved through the sky, directly crushing myriad beast palace lord, directly and violently. This is myriad beast palace lord dead? He is a true immortal. There is an unmatched existence there. Restricted region. It is definitely a restricted region. Could it be that Sure How is related to the restricted region's existence? When they saw this scene, the close to 10,000 foreign experts were stunned, their eyes staring blankly at the giant hand that hadn't disappeared yet. They all subconsciously swallowed their saliva, fear surging within their eyes, mysteriously breaking out into a cold shiver. All of this happened too suddenly, simply catching them off guard. From the moment myriad beast palace lord appeared in that manner, to when he spoke out, and then to when he was crushed to death by that giant hand. The entire process happened in the time it took for sparks to fly off a piece of flint. Immortal Domain's gates have opened. This one won't interfere with the objective of your trip, but if you set your sights on those related to this one, then don't blame this one for being ruthless. A calm voice drifted through the air. Even though the voice wasn't loud, it clearly sounded in the minds of all of Immortal Domain's experts, shaking their minds. Immortal. Immortal King. When they heard this voice, Immortal Domain's true immortals, including the long-dressed woman, gave each other a look. Their pupils suddenly contracted, looking at each other in dismay. Perhaps supreme beings couldn't sense the pressure from this voice, but they could clearly sense that this was specifically targeted at the immortal Tao force within their bodies. Moreover, to be able to instantly kill a true immortal with a raise of a hand, this was something only unmatched existences like immortal kings could do. Go, let's avoid this place for now. Let's search elsewhere. The group of immortal domain experts gave Emperor City another look with incomparable restraining fear. Then, they seemed to have come to the same decision. separately flying towards different directions in the 9 heavens, 10 earths. Fortunately, there are seniors here, able to put a stop to their arrogance. Otherwise, this group of fellas from Immortal Domain, who knows how arrogant they would be. While looking at the distant Immortal Domain experts, a veteran supreme being released a cold snort, clearly extremely dissatisfied with the attitude of these Immortal Domain experts. These experts who descended from Immortal Domain left one after another extremely quickly. In less than an hour, they were already scattered to every corner of the 9 heavens, 10 earths. In the following 2 days, the great families of the 9 heavens, 10 earths entered a frenzy of marketing. All of the younger generations that were passable were pushed out, to the extent where they didn't hesitate to steal all types of heavenly materials and supreme treasures just to let those Immortal Domain people take a look. In the eyes of these family elders, as long as they were connected to Immortal Domain, even if it was just a tiny bit, their family would be able to soar. Only, it was a pity that these Immortal Domain experts' conditions for selecting seeds were extremely harsh. Even though 2 days had already passed, the number of people they selected could be counted on 2 hands. The 3rd day, close to 10,000 Immortal Domain experts were still busy, no one daring to step into Emperor City. It was also on this day that an old man woke up in an ancient land. He stood up while trembling as he looked towards a certain direction. "Master, why did your respected self wake up?" The one who spoke was a fatty named Chao Yusheng, precisely the little fatty who wanted to screw over Chu Bei 1,000 years ago, but was instead fiercely taught a lesson. Now, Chao Yusheng's cultivation, even though it wasn't as freakish as Shi Hao's, he still entered the self-severing realm, not far from the self-release realm. As for this elder who suddenly woke up, he was Chao Yusheng's master. He spent most of his time sleeping, not paying attention to worldly matters. However, just now, he was roused awake. Right now, Chao Yusheng looked at the elder with a heavy expression, his face full of confusion. "Little fatty, the world is changing. There is going to be a huge problem." The elder suddenly sighed. His body looked extremely weak, as if a gust of wind could blow him over. "Master, don't keep me in suspense. What world is changing? Isn't everything perfectly fine?" Even the foreign realm's problem was resolved after Boss Chu returned. When he heard the elder's words, Chao Yusheng's expression suddenly changed. Even though his master's strength wasn't all that great, he was psychic, able to deduce heaven's mysteries. However, even though there were some things he could see a corner of the future, he couldn't say it, couldn't do it. Once it was revealed, he would suffer endless calamities. The reason why he ended up like this was also related to the fact that he continuously revealed heaven's mysteries back then. "Little fatty, when Master dies, burn me to ashes and scatter me into the sea. You must not establish any grave for me." The elder continuously coughed, extremely strenuous and slow. He looked in a certain direction, his face full of worry. "Master, what is the meaning of your words? Don't scare me." When he heard the elder's words, Chao Yusheng's face turned pale, feeling like his master was giving him his last words. Could it be that this great world really was going to change? He didn't have much time left? "Little fatty, what you know is still too little. Darkness is about to arrive. The 9 heavens, 10 earths are about to be finished." The elder released a deep sigh. The great era of darkness has arrived. This world is about to end. The most terrifying great showdown has arrived ahead of time. These were the elder's final words. After saying this, he patted Chao Yusheng's shoulder, and then turned into a streak of flowing light, disappearing into the limits of the horizon. "Master, you are going to die either way, so can't you reveal heaven's mysteries one more time? Let me understand a bit more." While looking in the direction the elder disappeared, Chao Yusheng roared out, "Great era of darkness. What exactly is the meaning of this?" No one replied for a long time. Chao Yusheng could only release a sigh. Then, a figure appeared in his mind, immediately flying towards desolate border. The 4th day. In the void, there were gray, unknown streams of energy that smashed into the spatial barrier. Under the continuous bombardment, a crack appeared in the barrier, gray streams of energy starting to surge out. This crack was located in spirit realm of the 9 heavens, 10 earths, 3,000 Dao provinces. Not long after these strands of gray streams of energy surged out, Spirit Realm underwent great changes. Then, the first strange, miserable cry sounded, shaking up Spirit Realm. In the blink of an eye, in the region where the crack was located, the clear sky became dark, the peaceful aura turning into roiling, baleful energy. Then, countless miserable cries sounded. Cultivators fell one after another, their souls scattered, devoured by the roiling, baleful energy, disappearing without a trace. Before many cultivators could react, the black fog surged and enveloped the entire area. Shrill screams rose and fell one after another. In just a few seconds, that region surrounded by gray streams of energy became deathly still. Not a single sound left. Only darkness continued to spread outwards. When Spirit Realm's most powerful powers learned of this, they immediately entered a state of panic. However, before they even had time to withdraw, this black mist already quickly spread to their borders. The same scene played out. Wherever the black mist passed, everything would become deathly still. Whether it was man or beast, they would all return to nothingness. Have you all heard? Spirit Realm is gone. Didn't this just happen 2 hours ago? I don't even know what happened. It seems like it was devoured by a wave of unknown power. News of Spirit Realm's destruction quickly stirred up great waves. Every corner of the 3,000 provinces was intensely discussing this matter. Honglong. Suddenly, a heaven-shocking noise sounded from Spirit Realm's direction. Immediately afterwards, it was as if a black mist bomb was ignited. Endless black streams of energy crazily spread outwards, engulfing towards other regions. Right at this moment, the gates of hell were opened. Chapter 477. In the 3,000 Dao provinces, a terrifying scene was currently unfolding. Darkness matter leaked out from Spirit Realm, infecting the other great provinces, some even starting to surge towards the 9 heavens. What is that? Where exactly did it come from? Darkness invasion. Those who touch it will definitely die. Was it this that destroyed the entire Spirit Realm? The countless cultivators of the 3,000 provinces were shocked, terrified, trembling in fear. This was especially the case for the great provinces that were closer to the black mist. The cultivators within the provinces frantically fled, but just how fast was the black mist spreading? Forget about those cultivators who hadn't even ignited their divine flames. Even heavenly deity realm cultivators couldn't escape death. Only cultivators at the Void Dao realm and above could surpass the black mist's spreading speed, thus escaping disaster. However, just how many Void Dao realm and above experts were there in the 3,000 Dao provinces? The most terrifying thing was that this black mist's corrosive speed became faster and faster, like a black wave beating against the shore, engulfing the 3,000 provinces. Dead, they're all dead. Apart from me, not a single one of them escaped. A Void Dao realm expert cried out. He was originally the most powerful expert of that province, a sect master of a region. Right now, he didn't have the calm attitude of someone in a higher position, only his face full of fear. He was the sole survivor of that province, but right when his terrified voice finished speaking, his forehead began to turn green, his face becoming ashen. Then, a mouthful of black blood sprayed out, directly dying. There were self-severing realm experts who went to investigate, discovering that his primordial spirit had scattered, as if it had been completely destroyed, disappearing without a trace. Meanwhile, his body was completely fine, without the slightest injury. This type of strange black mist was too terrifying, spreading like a plague, bringing about an unprecedented great disaster. Darkness matter. Why did we run into it? Could it be that the dark great era is going to arrive early? Hurry, and return to celestial domain. We have to let immortal king great ones know about this. A few immortal domain experts who were currently choosing disciples seemed to know something. When they saw the quickly spreading black mist, their expressions changed greatly, fear surging into their eyes, their bodies starting to tremble. This was a calamity that could wipe out the world. It wasn't just the 3,000 Dao provinces, The 9 heavens 10 earths were also affected. All of the inheritances were fleeing, extremely terrified. This black mist had no way of resisting at all. Have the lords of the immortal region left? One of the juniors of my clan has caught their eye. Quickly go and ask them if they can bring my clan into the celestial realm. This unknown black fog is really too terrifying. Gradually, the 9 heavens became chaotic, even a few long-life families unable to remain calm. Another 2 hours passed. Imperial Pass, desolate border. Close to 10,000 immortal realm experts gathered above Heaven Abyss, and there was no lack of true immortal experts among them. Now, they no longer had the indifference they had when they first arrived. Only panic and fear remained on their faces. As people from the immortal realm, they were very familiar with this dark matter. Not to mention them, even those supreme existences at the peak of the true immortal realm, or even the quasi-immortal king realm, were powerless in the face of this dark matter. It wasn't just because the dark matter was terrifying, but because there were terrifying living beings within the thick black fog, and some of them were even comparable to celestial kings. The existences in the 9 heavens 10 earths didn't stay in the 9 heavens 10 earths of their own volition. Tens of thousands of years ago, they were contaminated when they fought with the existences in the black mist. They couldn't return to the immortal region and could only stay here. Is the portal ready yet? How much longer? Some immortal realm experts revealed anxious expressions. Soon. We'll be able to leave this damned lower realm soon. Accompanied by a rumble, a portal formed above Heaven Abyss. This portal was different from the one they came from. It was incomparably huge, and it was opened by the combined efforts of close to 10,000 immortal realm experts. Rumble, however, seeing the portal form, these immortal realm experts didn't even have time to rejoice before the portal was shattered by a terrifying wave of energy. What's going on? Looking at the distorted and shattered portal, close to 10,000 immortal realm experts frowned, and their expressions were incomparably ugly. Could it be that we've been abandoned too? No. We really shouldn't have come down. After a long while, some true immortal experts seemed to have guessed something and let out a series of helpless sighs. My lord, what do you mean by that? Could it be that we're going to stay here forever like those existences in the Forbidden Land? No, the old ancestor won't abandon us. When they heard these true immortals' words, countless immortal realm experts immediately entered a state of panic, crazily rushing towards the distorted portal in the sky dome above. However, as soon as they approached that collapsed portal, they were shaken by a wave of boundless power from above until their blood and chi surged. The great era of darkness is about to arrive. In order to prevent you all from bringing corruption into a mortal realm, under the orders of the 3 immortal kings, we will refine this world with the 8 sides 9 cauldron formation. While everyone was in a state of panic, an ice-cold and indifferent voice sounded from within the distorted and collapsed portal. What? Immortal kings are going to refine this world. If that's the case, wouldn't we undoubtedly die? Why? Why are immortal kings treating us like this? Let us go back. We haven't been corrupted. When they heard this, close to 10,000 immortal realm experts roared out in horror, their hearts and lungs splitting. Before death, even if they cultivated to their level, they still couldn't remain calm. This situation is even worse than what we imagined. Several immortal realm true immortals looked at each other, smiling bitterly, their faces carrying helplessness. On the other side, within the largest manor in Imperial Pass City, Meng Tianzheng, Zhao Haoyan, Immortal Wang, and the other supreme beings stood in front of Chu Bei with incomparable respect, their eyes full of deep worry. Apart from Meng Tianzheng and the other supreme beings, there was also a fatty who was currently pacing back and forth. Boss Chu, the black mist they are talking about is definitely the darkness matter my master deduced. According to what my master said, our 9 heavens 10 earths is about to disappear. Chao Yuxing looked at Chu Bei respectfully. Master, do you have a way to stop this? Sure Hao probingly asked. Meng Tianzheng and the others on the side were full of expectation. Those fellas in the restricted region should come out for some fresh air as well. Chu Bei didn't directly reply to Shi Hao's question, instead muttering this to himself. Right when Shihao, Chao Yusheng, Ming Tianzheng, and the others were thinking about the meaning behind Chu Bei's words, their bodies trembled, the scene before them changing. When they snapped out of their daze, they were already in the skies above a gloomy and continuous mountain range. When they looked down, they couldn't see any birds or beasts, nor could they hear any cries. There was only an expanse of deathly stillness, making one's heart tremble inexplicably. This is Death Mountain Range. Meng Tianzheng, Immortal Wang, and the other supreme beings immediately recognized where they were, all of their expressions changing. This mountain range was one of the 9 heavens, 10 earths restricted regions. Even those as powerful as them didn't dare rashly step foot in. It was because there was a precedent, a supreme being who wanted to explore this place, but less than 10 minutes after entering, his corpse was thrown out by the existences in the mountain. Who dares disturb my rest? Suddenly, an ice-cold and overcast voice sounded from the mountain. Then, a wave of boundless and terrifying aura spread. This was Immortal Dao aura, suppressing Ming Tianzheng, Immortal Wang, and the others until they couldn't breathe. Darkness has already arrived. A new great era has arrived. Are you all going to turn a blind eye to it? Chu Bei looked down, his overcast voice carrying a hint of mockery. Turn a blind eye? Truly laughable. Back then, how much did I give up in that battle? But what did I get in the end? Abandoned by the celestial realm, I can only stay in this lower realm. The being in the mountain shouted coldly, his voice carrying anger. Leave immediately or else die. However, just as the being in the mountain finished speaking, Chu Bei waved his sleeve. Then, a wave of ripples appeared in the distant sky. Within the ripples, an incomparably enormous hand covered the mountain range. The giant hand pressed down, creating a sky-shocking rumble. This mountain range collapsed. A figure flew out, standing in the air, looking at Chu Bei with incomparable fear. Celestial King. This was a silver-haired man, his face carrying an indelible scar. You have 2 choices right now. The first choice is to disperse the dark matter, and I will bring you back to the celestial realm. The second choice is to be buried here. Chu Bei was expressionless, but his calm voice was full of majesty. The silver-haired man was stunned. He looked at the mountain range that had already turned into ruins. Without much hesitation, he flew towards the 3,000 Dao provinces. Chapter 478. Let's go to the next place. In the distant sky, Chu Bei glanced indifferently at the Death Mountain range below. As soon as he finished speaking, the group appeared above a lake in the blink of an eye. The demonic chrysalis lake was also one of the forbidden areas of the 9 heavens, 10 earths. Chu Bei was straightforward. He threw out a punch, and the lake water instantly evaporated. Soon, a black flood dragon flew out. In terms of aura, it was even stronger than the red-haired man in the Death Mountain range. However, it also didn't dare to act rashly in front of Chu Bei. Chu Bei still gave it 2 choices. The black flood dragon chose the same as the red-haired man and flew toward the area where the dark matter was spreading. Then, the 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 15 minutes, Chu Bei had visited all the forbidden areas of the 9 heavens, 10 earths. Most of them had already stepped into the Immortal Dao domain, and there were even 2 half-immortal kings. Host has completed the mission. Level 16 Commodity Authority can be unlocked. Mission 1. Break through the void barrier between the 9 heavens, 10 earths and the immortal region, along with the 2 realms. Not long after visiting all the forbidden areas, the system's voice sounded in Chu Bei's mind. It's finally here. Hearing the system's voice, the corners of Chu Bei's mouth raised into a smile. The Level 16 Commodity Authority mission was unlocked. At the same time, look, the darkness over there has dispersed. Who is that figure? In the 9 heavens, 10 earths, other than Senior Chu, there is such a powerful existence? He forced the creatures in the darkness to retreat. We're saved. We're alive. As time passed, Immortal Dao experts appeared in all the areas shrouded in black fog in the 9 heavens, 10 earths. They were fighting against unknown creatures in the darkness, releasing terrifying auras. They're out. Those existences in the forbidden areas have all come out. It's him. It's the person who killed the myriad beast palace master. Where did he come from? I thought he was also from the immortal region, but when I saw his appearance, I didn't remember such an existence. Could it be that he's the immortal king of the 9 heavens, 10 earths? Impossible. In the battle of Immortal Ancient, all the true immortals in the 9 heavens, 10 earths died. How could there be an immortal king? Above the walls of the border pass, the immortal region experts looked in the direction of the various forbidden zones. When they sensed that the powerful existences in these forbidden zones were being forced toward the area where the dark matter was spreading by the same aura, all of their faces were filled with astonishment. Although they could not figure out that aura, they felt a trace of familiarity. It was the same as the aura that had killed the myriad beast palace master. With the immortal Tao experts from the forbidden zone taking action, the dark matter spreading throughout the 9 majors and 10 lands began to recede back into the crack in the spirit world. The dark matter disappeared. The surviving cultivators of the 9 heavens, 10 earths began to cry out in surprise, excitement on their faces. The darkness has been expelled. The experts of the immortal realms above the heaven abyss seemed to have sensed the disappearance of the darkness energy. They exchanged glances with one another as a strange light flashed in their eyes. But so what? The immortal region has already abandoned us. The 9 cauldron formation of the 8 directions is about to be activated. This world will soon be refined. When that time comes, we will return to nothingness with the destruction of this world. I really can't accept this. I didn't expect those immortal king patriarchs to treat us like this. They are also trying to protect themselves. While looking at the distorted gate in the sky dome above, more and more immortal domain experts began to feel discontent. They came. Following an immortal domain true immortal's cry of alarm, powerful auras began to surge over from all directions. Then, figures appeared above imperial pass walls one after another. They each floated in the void, releasing terrifying auras. Were you all also abandoned? A red-robed man coldly swept his eyes over the group of immortal domain experts. The group of immortal domain experts looked at each other in dismay. They all nodded towards the white-haired man without prior consultation, their faces carrying respect. This really is their style. The red-robed man gave the distant sky dome a look, releasing a shout. A wave of majestic energy rushed into the heavens, smashing into that distorted gate. Immediately afterwards, only a muffled noise could be heard. The immortal domain experts behind that gate seemed to have been blasted flying. Hong Long Glong. Right at this time, the sky dome above the 9 heavens, 10 earths rumbled. One could vaguely hear the sounds of great cauldrons colliding. 9 cauldron formation of the 4 directions. Ouching, Taisher, Yuan Chu. For the sake of putting an end to future troubles, you all really are going all out. Amidst a terrifying and strange voice, in the east, west, south, and north of the 9 heavens, 10 earths, 900,000 zhang tall great cauldrons appeared. 36 great cauldrons floated in the sky dome, immortal Tao radiance connecting them. Dazzling symbols float about, as if they were a single entity. While looking at the 36 great cauldrons, the expressions of the immortal Tao experts from the restricted region instantly changed. Their eyes all carried great anger, especially those 2 half-immortal kings, their eyes even already revealing killing intent. Ao Feng Great One, Gon E Great One, this is the will of the 3 immortal king ancestors. Your descendants, the immortal kings said that they will take care of them. A voice sounded from that distorted gate again. These words spoken to those 2 half-immortal kings. Wong Wong Wong. The moment the gate's voice sounded from the distant sky dome, the 36 great cauldrons above the 9 heavens, 10 earths trembled at the same time, erupting with resplendent radiance, instantly filling the entire 9 heavens, 10 earths. Immediately afterwards, ripples appeared in the void of the 9 heavens, 10 earths, slowly distorting at a speed visible to the naked eye. Hong Long Glong. Continuous mountain ranges exploded, great rivers flowed in reverse. The sky dome became a blood color, as if the end of the world had arrived. Do you all really think that by refining this world, The great era of darkness won't affect immortal domain? Truly laughable. A furious roar sounded. The half-immortal king named Aofeng appeared in front of a great cauldron. His fist smashed out, erupting with incomparable immortal Tao energy. However, the great cauldron trembled, and then an even more terrifying wave of recoil force blasted Aofeng back. As expected, not even half-immortal kings can do anything to the four sides 9 cauldrons formation. It's already a foregone conclusion. In the end, we have become the burial objects of this world. When they saw that Aofeng's attack was useless, immortal domains experts were like dead ashes, the only hope in their eyes completely shattered. The expressions of the restricted region existences were also incomparably ugly, overcast to the extreme. Actually wishing to refine the 9 heavens 10 earths, the one who made this decision deserves death. Suddenly, a calm voice sounded in the minds of countless experts above Imperial Pass. When they heard this, the eyes of immortal domains experts that originally dimmed suddenly shone with brilliance again, surging with hope once more. Great One, including Aofeng and Gon Yi, the 2 half-immortal kings. When the restricted region experts reacted, they also revealed a bit of joy. They immediately cupped their fists towards the figure that suddenly appeared before them, expressions of respect on their faces. Not long ago, they personally experienced the terrifying strength of this man of unknown origins. That wave of pressure was definitely not weaker than any immortal king they knew of. The things this Great One has promised you all, I will naturally accomplish them. Chu Bei nodded towards Aofeng, Gon Yi, and the other restricted region experts. Behind him stood Shi Hao, Chao Yusheng, Meng Tianzheng, and the others. When his voice fell, Chu Bei's eyes calmly looked towards the 36 great cauldrons in the sky dome. Then, with a wave of his sleeve, a golden long sword appeared. The sword hilt and sword body were respectively engraved with different divine patterns, releasing hazy fluorescence, mysterious energy swirling about. This was the level 19 killing item he exchanged. Its name was Immortal Killing Sword. Wang Wang. Chu Bei lightly flicked his finger, landing on the sword body. Immediately, the sword blade trembled, releasing resplendent radiance. Immediately afterwards, 36 streaks of golden sword radiance shot out from the sword blade, perfectly matching the 36 great cauldrons' positions. Pung pung pung. The 36 streaks of sword radiance smashed into different great cauldrons at the same time. First, there was a wave of clear shattering sounds, and then there were continuous explosions, echoing through the 9 heavens 10 earths. The cauldrons shattered. The four sides 9 cauldrons great formation has been broken. The darkness matter has retreated. The immortal king great formation has been broken, which means that we are fine. While looking at the 36 great cauldrons that collapsed, and then at the gradually calming void around them, the immortal domain experts were first stunned, and then they revealed excited expressions when they reacted. Wang Wang. Before the experts of the immortal region could calm their excited hearts, an even more exciting scene occurred. They only saw Chu Bei hold the immortal killing sword's hilt, his right hand brandishing diagonally. Accompanied by a buzzing sound, a 30,000-meter-long ray of sword light shot out from the blade and instantly appeared below the warped gate. The endless sword radiance entered the gate, terrifying energy storms crazily spreading with it as the center, seeping even deeper. Boom! Accompanied by an earth-shattering explosion, the distorted gate directly exploded, forming a huge gap. Following that, the spirit chi that was countless times denser than the 9 heavens 10 earths gushed out crazily from the gap, making one feel refreshed. It's open. We can return to the immortal domain. Looking at the transparent gap, whether it was the existences of the forbidden zones or the immortal domain experts who had just descended, they even forgot to exclaim at Chu Bei's strength, and all of them were so excited that their bodies trembled. Especially the existences of the forbidden zones. Although they had lived in the forbidden zones in the lower realm for tens of thousands of years, this was ultimately not their home. They did not have their family in the 9 heavens 10 earths, and they did not have anything familiar. Now that they could return to their home, how could they not be excited? Host has broken through the void barrier between the 9 heavens, 10 earths, and the immortal domain. Mission completed. Mission 2. Merge the 9 heavens, 10 earths, and the immortal domain. The system's voice rang out in his mind. After being stunned for a moment, Chu Bei took a step forward and flew toward the huge gap that led to the immortal domain. Swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. In the next moment, countless divine rainbows shot into the sky, following Chu Bei into the huge gap. At the same time, on the other side of the huge gap, the group of perfected immortals in the immortal domain stared blankly at the gap that had suddenly exploded. They were all numb. They looked at each other, their faces filled with shock. The four sides 9 cauldrons formation has been broken. The barrier between the immortal domain and the 9 heavens, 10 earths has been broken through. How is that possible? This is bad. Quickly report to the immortal king. However, just as this group of perfected immortals was about to leave, several figures rushed out of the gap, followed by cheers. Lord Aofeng, Lord Gan Yi. Could it be that you guys destroyed the immortal king patriarch's formation and broke through the barrier? Could it be that your cultivation has already broken through to the immortal king realm? The group of perfected immortals' gazes landed on the 2 quasi-immortal kings from the forbidden zones. Their words were filled with surprise, completely ignoring Chu Bei, who was at the front. Is this the immortal domain? Meng Tianzheng, Wang Changsheng, and the others looked around and muttered to themselves, their eyes filled with shock. Although they had known about the existence of the immortal domain for a long time, this was the first time they had stepped into the immortal domain. Looking around, their hearts were in turmoil. Right in front of them, the land was broken, and behind it was a boundless starry sky. A huge object stood in the starry sky. It was too big, and they couldn't see the end of it. The sun, moon, and stars revolved around it. It floated quietly in the starry sky, releasing dense immortal qi. Lord, that's Panwang City. Aofeng pointed at the huge city in the starry sky in front of them and said to Chu Bei, Panwang, the supreme immortal king of the immortal domain, was also one of the strongest. He had lived for an extremely long time, and no one could say for sure what era he was from. Panwang City, which he established, was also one of the largest ancient cities in the immortal domain. It had existed since ancient times and prospered for countless eras. Who are you? The group of true immortals sensed Aofeng's respect towards Chu Bei, and their expressions changed greatly. Chu Bei ignored the group of true immortals. Instead, he pushed his divine sense to the maximum, seemingly sensing something. After a while, Chu Bei said plainly, as I expected, the immortal domain has been invaded by the creatures of darkness a long time ago. Lord, what do you mean? There are creatures of darkness in the immortal domain too. Aofeng and Gan Yi both trembled when they heard Chu Bei's words. If that was the case, then how powerful were the creatures of darkness that could fool the immortal king? Buzz, buzz, buzz. Before Chu Bei could answer Aofeng and Gan Yi's questions, tens of thousands of divine rainbows streaked across the starry sky of the immortal domain and instantly appeared above Panwang City. What happened there? The barrier has been broken. The immortal domain is connected to the lower realm. Damn it! How can this be? The lower realm has been contaminated. Who did this? Aofeng and Gan Yi. Why are they back? This must be related to them. More and more immortal domain experts gathered at Panwang City. When they saw the huge gap, they all frowned, and their expressions turned ugly. Hurry and invite the immortal king. That's right. Only they can repair the barrier now. If we're late, the immortal domain will be contaminated by the dark matter. Some true immortals of the immortal domain shouted anxiously. Chapter 479. Let's capture Aofeng, Gan Yi, and the others first and wait for the immortal king's interrogation. 3 figures appeared above Panking City. Their auras were extremely powerful, and they had all reached the level of a half-immortal king. At this moment, the 3 figures' gazes were locked onto Aofeng and Gan Yi. Rumble. Cold in the forest shouted, and the 3 half-immortal kings attacked at the same time. rushing towards Ao Feng and Gan Yi. Let's also take down these people from the lower realm. Almost at the same time, the group of true immortals rushed towards the others from 9 heavens, 10 earths. Bang! However, whether it was the 3 half-immortal kings or the group of true immortals, they were sent flying by a terrifying force before they could even get close to Ao Feng, Gan Yi, and the others. If it wasn't for the fact that this power was deliberately restrained, their souls would have already dissipated. This is immortal king level power. The 3 half-immortal kings coughed out blood, and their expressions changed drastically. After looking at each other, they once again observed the group of people from 9 heavens, 10 earths in horror. In the end, the 3 of them fixed their gazes on Chu Bei. While they were shocked, their eyes were also filled with suspicion. What? There are immortal kings among them? Didn't the immortal kings of 9 heavens, 10 earths all die in the battle of Immortal Ancient? Hearing the words of the 3 half-immortal kings, the immortal region cultivators above Pan King City frowned in shock. Pan King has come out of seclusion. At this moment, a cry of surprise sounded from the crowd. Then, the originally calm depths of Pan King City suddenly surged with primal chaos. Then, a figure walked out from the primal chaos. He wore an ancient Taoist robe, looking blurry and ethereal. With a step, he appeared at the front of the crowd. Ao Feng, Gan Yi, I've indeed let you down for what happened back then. Since you've returned, I'll compensate you. Pan King's gaze swept across Ao Feng and Gan Yi as he let out a faint sigh. Pan King, what happened back then had nothing to do with you. Among all the immortal kings in Immortal Region, you're the only one I respect. You've done enough for us back then. Seeing Pan King appear, Ao Feng and Gan Yi immediately bowed with respectful expressions, but I still couldn't change your ending. Pan King shook his head with an apologetic tone. Pan Wang, do you know about the Four Sides 9 Cauldrons formation? Is this the decision of Aoqing, Taisher, and Yuanchu? Ao Feng's words were filled with anger. I tried, but failed. Pan Wang sighed again. There were some things that he could not change by himself. This was his helplessness. Ao Feng, Gan Yi, we haven't seen each other for 1,000,000 years, and you already dare to call this king by his name? Suddenly, a cold shout was heard. It carried along with it an overpowering amount of energy and a dense amount of killer's intent. Aoqing, for your own selfish reasons, you actually used the Four Directions 9 Cauldrons formation to refine the entire Jutian City. Isn't this method a bit too much? Ao Feng and Gan Yi looked in the direction of the voice. Their auras began to rise, resisting the terrifying immortal king pressure. 1,000,000 years ago, the 9 heavens and 10 earths were already polluted. Now that the dark matter is attacking again, why can't I just bury this realm? Aoqing's voice sounded again. Moreover, immortal kings don't need a reason to kill. Ao Feng, Gan Yi, have you been in the lower realms for too long and forgotten your identities? In the celestial region, we are the true kings. What we do, when is it up to you juniors to talk about? After Aoqing's voice, 2 other voices filled with supreme majesty sounded. It's Taisher, Immortal King, and Yuanchu, Immortal King. They know too. Pan Wang, Aoqing, Immortal King, Taisher, Immortal King, and Yuanchu, Immortal King. 4 ancestors have already been alerted. Above Pan Wang City, a group of celestial region cultivators recognized the owner of the voice. They all revealed shocked expressions as they looked into the depths of the celestial region. Do you think the celestial region is safe after destroying the 9 heavens and 10 earths? Won't it be invaded by the dark matter? What a joke. Ao Feng sneered. There was no fear on his face. Judging from his expression, it seemed like he had already disregarded life and death. I am the immortal king. Even if I am wrong, how can I allow you to be so rash? This king thinks that you are tired of living. These were Aoqing Immortal King's words. They were cold and emotionless. They came from the depths of the celestial region like the heavenly Tao, wanting to destroy all things, wanting to kill Ao Feng and Gan Yi. His sound waves turned into laws. They were as dazzling as a rainbow, descending from the depths of the celestial region above Pan Wang City. Then, they avoided the unrelated cultivators and enveloped Aofeng and Gan Yi, wanting to destroy their bodies and souls. Aofeng and Gan Yi's aura surged. They shouted loudly, and their bodies shook as they resisted the sound wave laws. I didn't expect your cultivation to improve instead of retreating in the lower realms. No wonder you have the confidence to talk back to this king. But if you think that you have the right to provoke this king, then you are too stupid. In the depths of the celestial region, Aoqing spoke again. As a supreme immortal king, his magic power was boundless. He looked down on the ancient times. As soon as the cold and indifferent voice fell, there was a rumble. Then, a large sleeve fluttered and an arm stretched out from the depths of the immortal region. It instantly covered an immeasurably vast region of stars and directly grabbed towards where Aofeng and Gani were. Lord Aoqing, are you going to kill us too? Looking at the giant hand that covered the sky, the cultivators above Pan Wang City were terrified. At this moment, all the cultivators were terrified to the extreme. Aoqing Immortal King made his move. He crossed more than half of the celestial region and grabbed at them. Wherever the giant hand passed, the stars in the sea of stars turned into powder one after another, soundlessly turning into dust. Even though their cultivation was powerful, in the eyes of an immortal king, they were just ants. It was too late for them to escape. They were imprisoned and could only watch as the giant hand grabbed at them. Aoqing, you've gone too far. At the critical moment, Pan Wang frowned and shouted angrily. Pan Wang, you've crossed the line. Primordial beginning Immortal King's voice sounded. He cut off Pan Wang's attack. Pan Wang has been blocked. Are we really going to be buried with him? The group of cultivators looked at Pan Wang's attack that was originally aimed at Aoqing Immortal King's giant hand, but was cut off by Primordial beginning Immortal King. At this moment, Aoqing Immortal King's giant hand had already descended, destroying all things. Kacha! Kacha! Under the terrifying impact, Aofeng and Gan Yi bore the brunt of the attack. The immortal Dao light armor around their bodies shattered. I don't want to die. The cultivators were alarmed, only fear left in their eyes. However, just as the giant hand was about to wipe out Aofeng, Gan Yi and the group of cultivators, with a wang sound, a sword radiance appeared. This sword radiance released golden light, blocking and repelling Aoqing's giant hand, filling this land of death with vitality again. Who is it? Aoqing withdrew his hand. Following that, a cold voice sounded, filled with anger and confusion. Immortal kings don't need a reason to kill. Then wouldn't this one need even less reason to kill you all? A light and mocking voice drifted out. Then, another sword radiance appeared in the sky, passing through the sea of stars and rumbling towards the depths of the celestial domain. Along the way, star fields exploded one after another. In front of the sword radiance, the starry sky was annihilated, turning into nothingness. It was terrifying to the extreme. It actually blocked Aoqing Immortal King's attack, which Immortal King made a move this time. Looking at the terrifying sword radiance that rampaged through the starry sky, the cultivators above Pan King City were stunned, their faces filled with disbelief. At the same time, they all looked around, their divine senses extended to the maximum, as if they were trying their best to find something. Aoqing Immortal King was one of the overlords of the celestial domain. Even if he didn't use his full strength in that attack, it was definitely not something a quasi-immortal king could withstand. Because of this, they concluded that the person who attacked must also be an immortal king. However, in this celestial domain, the number of immortal kings could be counted on one hand. The voice from before was very unfamiliar to them. Even Pan King, who was fighting with Primordial beginning Immortal King, revealed a look of shock when he saw that terrifying sword radiance. Aofeng, Gan Yi, and the cultivators from the 9 heavens and 10 earths immediately looked at Chu Bei with strange looks in their eyes. Under the gazes of countless cultivators, the terrifying sword radiance landed in the endless stars in the depths of the celestial domain. Boom! With an earth-shattering explosion, the entire star domain shook as a terrifying destructive storm swept out. Under this energy storm, Just a wisp of aura that spread out caused the cultivators in every corner of the celestial domain to tremble inexplicably. All the races were terrified and trembled in fear. It was different from the techniques they were familiar with. The aura that this sword radiated was extremely unfamiliar to them. It was a power they had never come into contact with before. This feeling was as if the cells, bones, and every part of his body were trembling at the same time, as if they were about to be torn apart at any moment. In the depths of the celestial domain, more and more divine rainbows flew out, leaving the stars they were on. All of them looked as if they were facing a great enemy, afraid that they would be affected by the destructive power of that sword radiance. In the end, the sword smashed down. In an instant, the depths of the celestial domain fell silent, as if it had fallen into a deathly silence. Countless stars almost instantly turned into nothingness. The cultivators who witnessed all of this took a deep breath. The cultivators who had fled from that area had lingering fear on their faces. That grand will and incomparable immortal Tao laws made it difficult for them to move even though they were far away. Their bodies almost exploded. The territories of Ouching Immortal King, Taisher Immortal King, and Yuanchu Immortal King have been destroyed? Who exactly is the person who attacked? He actually offended 3 Immortal Kings at the same time. From the looks of it, this Immortal King is very likely to have a close relationship with Ao Feng and Gon Yi. The methods of an Immortal King are truly terrifying. Looking at the stars in the depths of the celestial domain that had turned into nothingness, the cultivators could not calm down for a long time. So the greatest reliance of Ao Feng and Gon Yi was you. This 4 corners 9 nether formation was also destroyed by you. The void barrier between the 9 heavens and 10 earths and the celestial domain should also be broken by you. All of this is your masterpiece. Suddenly, in the depths of the celestial domain that had turned into nothingness, 3 figures appeared. At the same time, 3 pairs of eyes pierced through the starry sky and landed on Chu Bei's body. Chapter 480. Could it be that the immortal king who attacked just now was him? How is that possible? Didn't he come from the 9 heavens 10 earths? After the battle of Immortal Ancient, the most powerful person in the 9 heavens 10 earths was only a supreme being. When did an immortal king appear? I even know about the immortal kings of the 9 heavens 10 earths. Why don't I remember such an existence? No wonder Ao Feng and Gon Yi were so respectful to him before. Following the gazes of Ouching, Taisher, and Yuanchu, the gazes of the cultivators above Panking City also landed on Chu Bei. They sized him up again, their faces filled with shock, their words filled with shock. Chu Bei ignored the gazes of these cultivators. He glanced indifferently at the 3 figures in the depths of celestial domain and smiled. The void rumbled. Chu Bei took a step forward, a huge Taiji diagram appearing beneath his feet. The Taiji diagram was formed from the interweaving of primordial energy and all things source energy. The eye of the formation was a flower of the great Tao. At the center of the petals was a small person chanting scriptures, his mouth shooting out mysterious runes. These runes froze the void. Everything became silent, as if time and space had stopped. Before anyone could react, Chu Bei stepped on the Taiji diagram and appeared in the depths of celestial domain that had been blasted into nothingness by that finger. He faced Ouching, Taisher, and Yuanchu from afar. From the age of Emperor Collapse? Ouching narrowed his eyes, his voice cold. Chu Bei smiled and didn't reply, only calmly looking at Ouching. No matter who you are, which epoch you were born in, daring to obstruct this king's actions today, you will definitely die. Ouching's cold words spread through celestial domain. Chu Bei still didn't reply, only having a look of contempt. The immortal killing sword in his hand began to emit a dazzling golden light. Wong wong wong. The sword moved slightly, releasing a soul-stirring sound. At this moment, Chu Bei held the sword, giving people the illusion that he didn't belong to this world, didn't belong to this era, but rather a creature that crossed over from the long river of time. I can't remember how many epochs it has been since someone dared to disregard me like this. Those humans, immortals, and kings who disobeyed this king are all dead. When he noticed the wisp of contempt in Chu Bei's eyes, Ao Cheng shouted with surging killing intent, causing the depths of the celestial domain to tremble violently as if it would explode at any moment. Ao Cheng was furious, being ignored by others. He was an overlord of a mortal domain, rarely anyone daring to provoke him. Die. When the word cold in the forest sounded, an irregular scene appeared above Ao Cheng's head. Tens of thousands of great stars cracked apart and exploded. The scene was horrifying. This was the result of his natural laws. Boom. Ao Cheng coldly stared at Chu Bei. He directly raised his hand and attacked. The stars in his palm revolved, and the star domain was destroyed, releasing a heaven overflowing might. Endless stars floated up and down in Ao Cheng's palm, wanting to swallow Chu Bei and suppress him within, refining him alive. Merely a third heaven celestial king, Chu Bei's voice was very calm. Facing the endless stars that surged over, there wasn't the slightest ripple in his emotions. He brandished his sword again. A streak of sword light flew out, entering that huge palm, instantly causing the endless stars within to tremble. With a bang, the endless stars exploded at the same time, turning into fine powder. The star domain that was formed was also cut apart. The power of the stars dissipated. Ao Cheng frowned, but he didn't withdraw his attack. Instead, his palm continued to strike down. His physical body had long been cultivated to the extreme, and he could kill a half-immortal king with a raise of his hand. Even without the support of the power of the stars, he was confident that he could seriously injure Chu Bei with just his physical body. You are too conceited. Chu Bei's voice was calm. He stood where he was and didn't dodge at all, allowing that huge hand to land. However, just as the giant hand was about to land on Chu Bei's body, he raised his sword and met the giant hand head-on. Chi, chi, chi. In the next moment, only sharp and ear-piercing sounds remained in this celestial domain, as if countless sharp swords were grinding against dark iron. Bang! Finally, amidst a boom, thousands of streaks of sword light pierced through that huge hand, rushing into the sky. Then, that huge hand exploded, becoming a bloody mess. At the point of collision, there was immortal king blood flowing out from the void, falling down, immortal light endless, auspicious multicolored light millions of times. Ao Cheng Immortal King actually bled. In the collision just now, Ao Cheng Immortal King lost. How? How is this possible? Even among the immortal realm's immortal kings, Ao Cheng Immortal King is a supreme existence at the front. That mysterious immortal king from the 9 heavens 10 earths is already powerful to this extent? The cultivators above Pan King City looked at the battlefield in the depths of the celestial domain, staring at the immortal king blood essence that was as red as blood diamonds, all of them stupefied. As Chu Bei and Ao Cheng's battle unfolded, powerful cultivators emerged from all over the celestial domain. At first, their faces were filled with confusion towards Chu Bei's origins, but when Ao Cheng's palm exploded, there was only horror left on their faces. Compared to celestial domain's cultivators, the 9 heavens 10 earths Meng Tianzheng, Immortal Wang, and the others were much calmer. It was because they had previously personally witnessed Chu Bei kill the foreign Anlin, Shichuo, and Wu Shang, 3 undying kings. This king is going to have you forever buried. Unable to enter reincarnation, Ao Cheng roared out. That bloody hand that exploded began to recombine and heal. Amidst his roar, his head of hair flew about, every single strand sparkling and resplendent, his eyes deep like a sea. At this moment, he seemed to have activated some type of unmatched secret method. His entire body's aura erupted once more, his hands forming magical imprints. This time, he directly appeared in front of Chu Bei, smashing his fists and feet down. Chu Bei still didn't move. Only when Ao Cheng's fists and feet were about to land on his body did he smile inwardly. His left hand that didn't hold a sword clenched into a fist, smashing it towards Ao Cheng. The two figures instantly interweaved, endless great Tao laws erupting, turning into a waterfall of lightning, rushing in all directions, as if a boundless battlefield was re-established. Low and heavy rumbling noises filled every corner of celestial domain, directly shaking everyone's hearts. However, this collision sound didn't continue for too long before it was covered by Ouching's roar of pain. Honglong. Another loud explosion rang out, and the battlefield that had been opened up collapsed. Chu Bei stepped on the yin-yang diagram, right hand holding the immortal killing sword, walking out from the battlefield. Behind him, Ouching also flew out. However, the instant he appeared before everyone's eyes again, a metallic Kong-Chong noise sounded. A streak of golden sword radiance swept past his neck. Immediately afterwards, Ouching Immortal King staggered backwards. He clutched his neck, his pupils rapidly contracting. That streak of golden sword radiance was brilliant like a heavenly sun. Removing his head, Ouching Immortal King's head was removed. Witnessing this scene, the entire celestial domain was in an uproar. If it was said that Ouching's hand was injured before, they could still accept it. But now, they really didn't dare to believe it. It was too shocking. Just how serious and terrifying was this scene? In the blink of an eye, all the cultivators in Celestial Domain's eyes were focused on Chu Bei. Their mouths were wide open, their eyes filled with shock. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.